Everybody, welcome to the Town of Goshen Town Board meeting, June 22nd, 2023. And I have a motion to open the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We got a pretty robust agenda tonight. I'm not going to break any short time records for sure, but I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. There are 3 public hearings tonight. First one on the agenda was introductory law number 3, 2023, and then the Town of Goshen Zoning Code, Article 7, Section 9755, 13. Purpose of this local law is to amend 9755 F13 of the Town of Goshen, which requires wind and solar energy system developers to post a decommissioning cash bond with the purpose of requiring a set foot subsection F. Have a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it. Fill that first time.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, everybody. Anybody here to speak on behalf of this introductory local law from the public? Anybody from the board have comments on it? Neil, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, my only concern with it is, in the past, we've had cash, we've had bonds before for other things, and not solar, but, and at some point in time, they have to be renewed annually, and those have slipped by in the past, and we've ended up with no bond at all coming. Tracking that or whatever's going to be, has been difficult in the past, and we've lost it. So that's my only concern with going to a bond.
Well, the problem is that with solar, there's probably a 20-25 year life on it. And when they go bad, and these are normally the company, they're LLCs, and they go, and the farmer wants to get his farm back because they're rented, and they want to get it back to farmland again. And they look to the town for the bond money to do that. And so that's why it was a cash bond. And we've been doing this for a long time. I guess you make a very good point. Every 3 or 4 or 5 years, you got to go back and relook at the cost of retrofitting it. So, yeah, but that's the purpose of it for the public. Yeah.
What are the financial implications for the town? Like, what will this cost us?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No.
We have no stake, no financial stake. We don't
No.
have to pay to file clerk.
No.
Okay.
What happens is the people developing this facility will figure out what it costs to decommission it. If it goes bad or they walk away, and they give us that cash and we hold that in a bond until they can.
Why don't the landowners just have this be part of the contract and do it privately rather than get you guys involved?
It's part of the solar package that's going on there. We're approving the solar package.
I know, but
We're here to protect it. We're here to
protect the citizens.
the residents of Goshen. There's no cost to the taxpayers, no cost to anybody other than the developer.
And so even if the bond does go belly up, there's no cost, we're not being held responsible for the decommissioning.
No, that's why we have their
That's
cash
right.
share.
Right.
And I'm sorry, for the record, can I just hear me?
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Okay, the other thing, it's related, not related to this directly, but also I know you have bonds is for stormwater ponds in that.
Correct.
And those are in perpetuity.
Well, we don't have any yet.
Okay, you will have them.
Correct.
But I know that on the commercial properties, they're mandatory nowadays. And you go, I think you do have them. You do have Legoland.
We had it was,
You're supposed to have it.
yes.
You're supposed to have it for Legoland and all those going forward. And again, those go into perpetuity, so there is no, even a 20-year thing, they're going out for as long as the property is still in existence.
Correct.
Okay, so I didn't know if you're thinking of doing those with bond also, or those are going to still be cash.
Well, if we're talking about stormwater ponds,
Yeah.
so we've established that we're going to now start creating a stormwater pond district. And each of the people in that resident are going to pay a homeowner's fee every year that sits in an escrow account that allows us to go and clean up for the residents of that district. We voted on our first one, that was Pursuit. They're the recipient of the very first one that, in the town. You can't go backwards.
No, I'm not suggesting that you should. I'm just saying that, that one warehouse, that there used to be Benny's warehouse.
Oh, yeah.
That has a cash fund at this point, I think $100,000, that is held forever. So it's a similar, very similar.
You know, in all fairness to you, Neil, I know that this was part of your responsibility in your group when you were the inspector, and maybe you didn't have enough staff, but I believe now, you know, Frank has the staff and we are on top of it. So Grace, I believe, is putting together she has a ongoing spreadsheet on what bonds are, what products, what customers those bonds are for, and she's maintaining that.
No, I was just saying, are you still gonna insist on those being cash, or are those gonna be bond also?
There are specific situations where we would take a bond, non-cash bond. And that is, we've already approved one already, and that's the facility that's going on top of the Altori landfill. Because at the end of the day, that is always gonna be a landfill. It's never gonna be restored for anything else other than a landfill.
Yep.
So the cash bonds, this board has agreed to only have cash bonds for residential and farm properties to guarantee the restoration of that property back to its virgin use.
I'd like to make a suggestion. I am in the distributed generation industry. I built a solar field at the jail. I would recommend that this be changed to all distributed generation facilities. All distributed generation facilities, not limited to solar and wind. There are going to be many more
Different types.
different types, and it just might as
Well,
well. Few words.
as applications come into play at the town, we would make the changes to it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Distributed.
Distributive generate, so any facility that produces power in front of or behind a meter that is for on-site use or a net meter capability that is not owned by the utility is considered distributed generation.
Now you got my curiosity. Other than wind and solar, what else is there?
You have fuel cells, you have steam generation, you have combined heat, CHP,
Municipal solid waste
yeah.
energy.
Okay.
many, and more every day. Hydrogen, electrolysis.
Analysis.
It's only going to keep going.
Okay.
So, and it's big money. So,
No, more importantly, it helps preserve eliminate the greenhouse gases that help preserve climate change. Anybody else on behalf of this? No, okay. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. George, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to adopt local law number 3 as a local law number 1 of 2023? I know that's a little confusing.
So it's actually going to be 1.
Right, correct.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Bill, second. All in favor?
Aye.
You need a roll call on that?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Aye. Rick?
Aye.
Aye.
Doug? Second public hearing, introductory law number 4 of 2023, amending chapter 28 planning board of the code of the town of Goshen to amend the provisions relative to alternate members, includes those relative to the terms of alternate members, substitution of alternate members, and resolution of alternate members. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Doug, second?
Second.
Rick, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Comments from the public? Neil?
My only concern on this at all is not having the alternate be able to say anything if they're not sitting up front. There are many times when there are, in preparing for a meeting, because we're expected to just sit in at any time, we can come up with comments, questions, whatever, and then to not be able to ask the question, and then later on in the future being asked to vote on something that we were not able to get the information from, I think could be problematic. And I know that municipalities do it both ways. There are other municipalities who allow people to talk, alternate members to speak from the floor. And I know that they do it the way we used to do it, was just about everybody up front. But that's my only concern, is that there's going to be misinformation that would otherwise be shared with all the members, and they may not know the information.
So an alternate member during the course of a planning process before the planning board meeting doesn't have any interaction with anybody else. You know, I know that Sean puts together a letter on what he does. I know that Phil Dropkin puts together a letter that goes out to everybody. So as an alternate, you have that ability. That's not changing.
In the past, that's been looked down upon by Kelly, in that any information being shared for a public meeting needs to be out in the public, not behind closed doors kind of thing. You know, putting out a memo ahead of time is not very open.
No, but the information that you're looking to provide, you're providing to the board, gets talked about in a public forum.
It may or may not.
Okay, well, anything else, any other comments?
So I'm concerned about that. I mean, things like water use or whatever has been an issue. Sometimes people are just not aware of the situations on properties. You know, most board members are working full-time and can't get to see where sites are. And I think that being able to share that information would be helpful and informative for the rest of the board.
But Neil, you're saying that it's not discussed openly at the planning board, so the planning board minutes don't include the information that somebody else can read?
No, what I'm saying is that the memo, if I write a memo to the board,
Right.
that doesn't become something discussed in public necessarily.
Okay.
Okay, I just, it's not very open, in my opinion, but
So you're saying the alternate should be able to speak openly?
yeah, I mean,
Anyway, just-
I'm not saying that the alternate sitting down here should vote. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that, look, if I know that there's a problem with a piece of property or something issue that is not necessarily commonly known, then I think it would be helpful for the planning board to hear that information and before they go ahead and move forward. That's all. I mean, certainly we had a discussion, let's take the Altori landfill property, and certainly there was a discussion there about how much the trees block or you know, the view of that. And I think the planning board members did in that case go out there and say, hey, we saw this. And two of the members were very correct and very adamant about, hey, no, you can see too much of that without putting more trees in. I think that needs to be shared. And I think that saying that any alternate sitting down in the audience should not be able to share that information is just shortchanging the planning board in general.
Okay. Anybody else have comments? No. Board?
I don't have any.
I'm gonna,
I kind of think that's a legitimate argument about it. I mean, I think everybody should know all the information. You know, I agree with what Neil said. They should be able to talk and give whatever information they have. I mean, they're not going to vote on anything if they're not on board at the point. But they can, you know.
Doug, you have anything?
No, I agree with that as well.
So what I'm gonna do is make a motion to close the public hearing. Have the motion to close the public hearing?
So.
Second.
Rick, second. All in favor?
Aye.
But I'm not gonna have a motion. I'm gonna table it to have conversations with the planning board, namely Lee and Kelly, relative to the concerns, and then we'll swing back around on this. Is there enough, Neil?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Third public hearing, Chesterdale LLC requesting the formation of a drainage district for the Persone subdivision. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Rick, second? Second. George, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Comments from the public?
I think it's about time we have a stormwater district. It's been discussed for 20 years or something, and I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, well, we do too. You know, I don't know how we go backwards, but at least we're moving in the right direction forwards.
I would kind of like to second that. I've been for it for a long time. Neil and I have discussed it for years, and I think we'll all find that we're in a better place because of it.
Yeah, I was looking back on the old town board meetings, I think you had hair when you said it the first time. That's all.
I think we got a picture of you, Broderick.
They had to draw it, paint it.
Any other questions, concerns, comments from the board?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Oh, no, you want to go first?
doesn't matter, I just want to know what the criteria will be. You see all kinds of recommendations on how we should approach these drainage districts, and some are extremely cumbersome. So I think we should have a checklist as to what we're looking for, and I'm sure Sean is going to make them up, I assume, as to how we approach that.
I will work with Sean on that,
Yes,
and if the board would like, we can start out using contract labor. Because there was some concern voiced last time about force account labor
Yes.
and the addition of people. So, we can start it off and, monitor our checklist.
well, those are the things that I think you and Sean can work on and give us the options as to what's available and what we can use, and we'll make the decision as to what would be for the best interests for the town.
Right.
But if you and Sean would work on that, that's just one piece of it.
Right.
I appreciate that. And with Rory also, I guess.
Broderick, I think when we're first getting started, have one or two districts, having people ready to go to work on it probably be expensive for the taxpayers. But once we're in where you might want to use contractors to do that work, as you get more and more, then you got to staff up. You'll always be working on one probably.
I can imagine, Sean, you've worked on drainage districts before, so you must have some criteria as to what's important, what works, and what's expensive and what's not expensive.
And
What's
Neil's
over
aware
here?
that the DEC has a lot of publications on this.
Right.
They've developed checklists, but we can take those and customize it for the.
Right, we don't want to reinvent the wheel or pay anybody to reinvent the wheel. So, I appreciate that.
I mean, I don't think there's too much involved in maintaining these things. Weed whack them maybe once a year, pick up some sticks.
That's what
Famous
they're
last
doing.
words.
Yeah.
That may-
But really, I mean,
But I think we got somewhere, we have trees, that are big sized trees that should not have been
when they
there.
do the pond, they clear around the pond, though. The trees aren't right in the pond. They might be near it.
Yeah, they're all
I mean, it's almost no maintenance at all.
At some point in time, we're gonna dig out or take out some of the sediment.
Yeah,
That's gonna be the biggest expense.
Testing. It's the button on the back, both arrows turned
Oh,
off.
yeah. Okay, do they go off by themselves?
Yeah, mine.
I think when they go idle, yeah. You want, right?
No, I had it on before. Okay, I had it. Yeah, I've got the green up here, but you have to add that.
Battery's dead.
All right, how about this one?
My battery is dead, thank you.
Chair with George.
I saw that.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, okay, thank you.
Malfunction.
Thanks, George, anyway,
My apologies. You should be on.
there.
Okay.
I'm done already. I said what I-
George? Okay.
Go ahead, George.
Some of the stuff has been said already, but just to reiterate, again, I think it's a great idea that we're moving in that direction. I think the costs, specifically about the Pursuant subdivision, I think the costs of the waivers that they put in there is slightly lower. I think it'd be more like if we were using our own forces, with the salary rate that's around 35, on average, around $35 an hour, plus what do we say, 62% of fringe benefits, I think it comes out to more like $60 rather than $50. I think there has to be an escalator in there, so that every 5 years, let's say, there's an escalator that's put into that, whatever that amount is. And as we said already, Sean and Rod, you're the two people who can advise us as far as what has to be adjusted for those things. I was thinking, and again, just to, maybe this is being overzealous, but when I read about us having to monitor hydrocarbons, if there were hydrocarbons that were found in these I was thinking, you know, you see that a lot, you know, people mowing around there, and they throw gas or oil or something like that into it, and all of a sudden you have some hydrocarbons in there. There may have to be some type of a special assessment. That would be if there really was a catastrophic event that occurred in some way, shape, or form, then, you know, a special assessment of some sort may have to be assessed against the homeowners there to correct that. The only other thing I had is you know, that there, as you really, they really gave a very detailed, which I think was very good, that Pursuit did a very detailed thing, and, you know, there was a couple of things that we have to go out there every month
Yeah.
and do it, so I just think it's a good thing to do, but it's going to be time consuming, whether it's your staff, Rod, or whether it's outside staff, and I think that has to be kept in mind.
Well, we factor that in, so it's part of their tax district now. It's being assessed on their taxes.
Right, right. What I'm questioning is I wonder if it's enough. That's
Well,
my
I
question.
think what Broderick can do is, based on what was approved and what needs to be done, you could actually go out to bid and find out and get a contract for somebody for 1 year to see what it's gonna cost, and get a bidded contract and make sure that it's covered in their tax assessment.
Well, I think that Chesterfield has provided, their engineers have provided a baseline, they've provided
Right,
some
correct.
information, and then we'll take that and we'll double check it and go through and see, maybe we need to change right off the get-go, and then, like you said, we could always put that out for a sample bid and see
Right.
what.
Anything else, George?
No, that's fine.
Rick?
So,
Sal? I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. I'm Salvatore Fini. I'm one of the partners of the developing team for Chestervale. We've built these ponds for about 25 years. We've managed them and we've maintained them. So I'd be glad to help and show or provide my opinion on how to maintain these ponds and what is necessary.
Yeah,
So I'd be glad to do that.
absolutely. I mean, you shared with me some beautiful ponds that you built in Chester. They look phenomenal.
Yeah.
If ours, any of ours look like that in the future, that'd be great. So, yeah. Any
It doesn't take
information-
much, doesn't take much at all.
Any information would be welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Bill?
Good.
Rick?
no, I'm good.
Doug? No? All right. Anybody else from the public want to speak on this? No? Okay. If I get a motion to approve the formation of a drainage district for the Pursuit subdivision.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We need a,
Oh, roll call?
we need a roll call on that, Counselor?
Yes, Council City, yes.
Okay, yes, I know we, I know we do. Aye.
George?
So I brought it up.
Joe? Aye.
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 And I neglected to close the public hearing, so can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to items for discussion and actions. ABC Orange Maplewood projects to discuss the expansion of the existing town and water sewer district, as well as the formation of a drainage district to serve the Maplewood development project. Morning, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Well, good evening, gentlemen, I should say.
Yeah.
It's been a long day already. Let's not make it longer. Good evening, I'm John Russo from Lycan Tully Engineering. I'm here representing my client, Mr. Garon, for the Maplewood project that is located between Craigville Road and Coleman Road, directly behind the old Salesian property. We were last before you with regards to the town accepting the 60-plus acres of conservation area that holds the wells and the wetland area. At this point, we are looking to ask the town to extend the existing water and sewer districts from that currently are comprised of Hamiltonian Estates and Heritage Estates. With that, the reason we're asking for that is the two wells that we have on our site, we are offering that water to the town. So we're going to be providing water to the town, and we're looking to tie our sewage system into the Hamiltonian Estates so that it can be conveyed from there over to the village.
Got a question.
Yes, sir.
If we had 2 or 3 years ago, a developer's agreement.
Yes.
It was all signed off on. And so can you talk to the change to that versus what it is you want to do now?
Well, I can. Andy Gilchrist, I represent ADC Orange on the project in Polo again.
Yes.
So under the developer's agreement, it's set forth that the municipality would be accepting water and sewer. This is simply the formal extension of the districts. It's consistent with the developer's agreement, just to legally extend the district. Yeah.
Because it seemed to me that there were 2 or 3 or 4 wells and they're going to come at certain.
That's correct.
Yeah, there's 2 wells that are going to be
You're
developed.
correct on that.
One well's about 250 gallons per minute, the other's about 92 gallons per minute.
You might share that with the rest of the board, though, because they might not have remembered that, because you and I were in negotiations, as I recall.
We were. So the project did undergo a lot of discussion, and there is an existing developer's agreement signed between ADC Orange and the town that addresses the water and sewer on the project, that it will be developed at ADC Orange's cost and then dedicated to the town. It includes those 2 wells, as John went through, and will build the sewer infrastructure, and presuming the water and district and sewer district extensions are approved, the sewer infrastructure likewise gets dedicated and then taken over by those respective districts. So in that regard, you're correct. It's consistent with the existing executed developers agreement for the project. This just completes legally the extensions of the district, so the town can legally take that. That's on the water and sewer.
Have you discussed anything with the village recently?
This is my question right now. Go ahead. Good.
We have contacted the village, so we do have a letter from them previously that they're a will serve letter with regards to the sewer. I know we have reached out to them again requesting that. I believe my applicant did have a meeting with the previous mayor. And at that time, we were supposed to be receiving another letter. I will have to bring this up with Molly again to see if we can get another.
It's going to be important.
It will be. So there was an existing written agreement to accept those flows, you're correct, from 2018.
Right.
We requested that be updated. The planning board also raised that with us as well, and I know my client has met with
I
them.
actually met the mayor, the new mayor, a couple of months ago, maybe 6 months ago.
You met with Molly? No.
It could have been the new mayor.
No, you met with
the new mayor,
Scott.
Scott.
Yeah.
And he said we have enough capacity, but he cannot give me a letter because I'm going through the town district. So the agreement should be between the village and the town. We're only a party to.
Well, our agreement is in place with the village. That's not my question. My question is,
He didn't want to give me a letter saying he's serving me, because it has to come through the town.
okay. So I suggest you reach out to Molly.
I will talk with Molly.
Because there's some issues with capacity and things like that that are all of a sudden coming up, so I just be on the safe side. I know that Rieger is doing the same thing, so best bet to
I will talk with
Get on
Molly
her
tomorrow.
Pardon
Good,
me, Andy
that's-
Trojan. May I have his name?
My name, Andy Gilchrist?
No, I got you.
Oh, I'm
Just-
sorry.
just
Yes.
down.
Dan Garon.
And for the board, there was dollars, you know, for example, the water tank and all these other things, there was money coming.
Well, there was a big contribution made by Mr. Aaron. I know that. I
Yes,
was on the board at
towards-
that time.
I don't remember, it
But
was 2 or 3 years ago, I guess.
it would be a good idea, of course, to tell them that you spoke to the town. And the town, of course, was in agreement to accepting that, to make sure that, you know, they don't tell you, well, you better ask the town.
I'll start
I've had that
conversations
discussion with her already.
with Molly.
Yeah.
I'll have discussions with her tonight. I'll give her a call tonight.
Okay.
So we're looking at the extensions of the water and sewer district. And also, we are requesting the formation of your second stormwater district that would encompass the entire bounds of our project, the Maplewood project. So we did provide a map plan and report for all 3 districts. There are about 4 stormwater facilities to be constructed as part of this project. The rest of this area has the wells and the wetlands on it. This is the area that was, the town already agreed to take. Those stormwater facilities, are located in those 4 areas.
Yes.
Now, do you have this in print? That, I mean, so that we all, I mean, I see that, but, you know, it's big, and what I'm sharing, is there a letter with all this information in it that we could study?
There were 10 reports that were submitted to the town
Everybody got their report.
in April.
Oh, okay. I wish I'd known that, I would have dug it up for tonight.
Oh, okay. If you don't have it, there's 3 more at Mayor's desk.
I was gonna say, if you want, I will give you these.
Well, give me one. Yes, I
I've
can.
got one for each of the districts.
Oh,
I mean, if
okay,
you want,
fine.
the ones for water and sewer
Very
and the
good,
others for
thank you very
drainage.
much. Okay, thank you.
Sean,
You're welcome.
while you're here, I know how do we establish the escrow account? What do we do it for the first year before we tax, so that the village isn't paying
Are
and
you talking about if
town is
decide to
paying?
form the district?
Right.
Or it would be, they're tying into Hamiltonian.
Right.
So it would be the same process you have right now to assess those districts. I know the board is considering a consolidation of districts.
Correct.
And so that all would tie in. In terms of the drainage, it's a little bit different.
Right.
Because this is the first time. It would be just like you were considering for Pursuit. In the report that Doug was just handed, they should have a calculation as part of their map plan and report. I presume it's in there.
It is.
There's calculation of cost, but is that the calculation of the upfront escrow and the amount that, so that?
It's not an escrow, it's what you're going to be charging those ratepayers in the district.
No, I understand that, but if you do the work, then you have to pay for the work before you charge them. So somewhere along the line, there should be an escrow account set up front so that we can pay for the work that's done and then put that on the tax and they can pay afterward. Otherwise,
Right, so generally how these do work is during the build-out. Obviously, ADC Orange has to build out the project, so they'll build out the water and the sewer. They're gonna build these stormwater facilities too.
Right.
During that build-out, they're not yet accepted by the town, the actual basins and the stormwater facilities.
Right.
Those will be maintained by the developer.
right,
When it's ready, meaning the water and the sewer and the stormwater infrastructure, we will then formally offer title to that, dedicate
No,
those facilities.
I-
The district will then take it.
right.
The map plan and report has the estimate for first-year expenses. You
Right.
usually coordinate with the developer on accepting title to the facilities. If there is a short-term maintenance bond until your next taxing cycle, that's usually addressed at the time of dedication, just to make sure that the town is covered.
No, I understand that.
Yes.
But no matter what, even at the dedication, there's going to be ongoing work. For instance, they call for monthly inspections
Correct.
and all of that. Will there be an escrow account, and that's for Pursuant and any water district? Will there be something set up front in order to pay for that work as you go along until the first year taxes are collected for that work?
Correct. If there is a gap between the acceptance of the dedication of facilities and when the next tax billing cycle happens and the receipt of those funds, those will be addressed during the dedication process, just to make sure if the town accepts the facilities, they do have money on hand until they actually
Right.
tax the residents.
That's all I'm
Oh,
saying.
yeah,
Okay,
that'll be handled.
that's really what I'm talking
You
about
bet.
is, I don't want to accept it, you dedicate it to us.
Yeah.
And you have it now tax the people for all the things that are going to go on during this year.
And then
it's
there's
like,
a
okay,
gap.
who's going to pay for that? I
Yeah,
don't
then
know.
there's a gap. You're absolutely correct. on
okay,
that.
I just wanna-
The only thing we're asking right now
Yeah,
is the formal
yeah.
district formation.
Yeah, not a
We will
problem.
be dedicating the facilities post-construction.
Right, well, that's just something I wanted to mention to our engineers, so that when they review the whole thing, that they make provision for that part of it, okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, where are we with the planning process? Where are we at the planning board level?
They received conditional approval, I believe, in March.
It was early this year. In fact, we just requested that that be extended because we're working on satisfying the conditions of the preliminary plat approval.
Right, and until we actually have the formation of the districts, we can't approach DEC or Department of Health.
Oh, okay.
So
So as soon as we get these districts formed, we can submit to the agencies
Okay.
to move them.
Good. I'm happy to see this project come to fruition. We've been working on it, I don't know.
20
yeah,
years.
20 years?
22.
22. I remember when it started, when you first came here.
Yeah, you were 16 years old.
Yeah.
We were all, we
Yeah,
were all a lot
yeah,
younger
black
then.
hair back then.
So,
I
So I'm glad to see this coming through. It was always.
Sean, is there anything else you need to add to this, or anything the board should know from, no?
No, Mr. Supervisor.
Go ahead, a couple questions. Sure. We talked about the developers agreement. I forget, how much money actually, what is the money, the dollar amount for the developers agreement?
I think it was 300,000 wasn't it, total.
Different number for sewer and for water.
Right, but I think, what did they total? I'm just taking it from 22 years ago memory.
It was updated 2 years ago, the developers agreement.
Was it? But the cost was,
With the cost as well? The
no,
developers agreement?
let's
I don't
say.
remember, it was 2 years ago.
I don't remember it 2 years ago being updated,
No.
money-wise.
Yeah, the agreement, the developers agreement was updated in January of 2021, subject to review of that, but yeah, all those issues were addressed within the developers agreement in 2021.
Right, what was the,
And the
was the
dollar
dollar,
amount
was the
was-
dollar amount
Yeah.
increased as
There
well?
was a contribution.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, that was addressed in the agreement. I'm searching for that.
Take your time,
Oh.
but hurry up.
Any other, Jordan, anything else?
Yeah, while we go on, you
Yeah.
can look at it while we talk.
That's okay.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
follow up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So, the second thing is, okay, you're developing a sewer district, the sewer lines, you're putting them all in and so on and so forth. So they interface with the existing sewer lines at Hamiltonian Park.
Correct.
Are they adequate? Are they in good shape that they can withstand this new increase?
Sean?
We had to do a study previously and provide that to your engineer, along with the study of the sewage pump station that's there that's going to be handling the sewer, and it was found to be adequate because the town had done some improvements at that time at that station.
Because that was the other thing I was gonna ask, was about the pump station and, you know,
Yes, we had
pushing
to,
it into the village. So, Sean, I guess the question is for you, that's all adequate for them to move forward?
So as part of the secret review that the planning board conducted, both the issue of the water tank storage capacity
Right.
and the pump station capacity were reviewed. In connection with your proposal that we discussed before about combining the districts, I had forwarded all that information off to Delaware so they could double check it right now before you know, in conjunction with your action. So, yes, the studies have been completed, they've been reviewed by the planning board and myself, they've also been forwarded to Delaware for the second review.
So were they gonna put in another water tank for for fire prevention and any of that?
No.
I know that was
all ties
discussed.
into the developer's agreement and the amount. So there was a savings to the developer if he connects to Hamiltonian because of the water storage tank. And then there is a benefit also to Hamiltonian because of the water supply well.
Right, right, but there was conversation about
That was really the basis of.
fire prevention.
Oh, yes,
Was there
absolutely.
adequate water? Was there? That's all I.
Yes, that was part of the
Okay,
secret
good.
review.
I just wanna make sure we're.
Any discussions, I don't know what the water tests were, was there any manganese in the water or anything at the time of testing?
I do not recall off the top of my head, but you recall at a meeting that you had earlier this year, Delaware Engineering was here, and you had said that going forward, you'd like all water systems.
So there was-
The planning board incorporated that into their
Okay.
resolution.
so there was no iron detected in the sampling that was done out there. Sean did talk to us that you're looking for filter systems to be put
Green
in.
sand system for all districts coming in, and we're converting all our existing districts.
Right, I know you're discussing a green sand filter tonight or whatever else, but I can't design a system if there's nothing to design to.
We need to get our water solved first, before anything happens. I live in Hamiltonian, the water is god-awful, it's brown.
I understand that, and this would not be at the town's cost, this would be at my developer's cost.
I understand, it's just priorities are the
We're
residents.
not, I told you that you'd have a.
I get it, I know.
Yeah.
We're talking about this development across the street from you, I promise you, we'll get to you. Okay, we're gonna have to figure out what we need to do, because ultimately you're spread across the street from Hamiltonian Park, and their water is infested with manganese and iron. So sooner or later, their water on that side is gonna get it.
So it may be, and I have to talk to my client, he's as legal counsel, but maybe you set up a fund that in cases like this where there's nothing to design to, you set up a fund that in the event in the future, you have monies to do something.
But you have to filter the water anyway to make it drinking, whether you put chlorine or something. in.
Well, yes, we have to do that now, but to go to the extent of a green filter, let's say we did have a ton of iron, I would have to go through other filtering process. But in the future, if iron does develop there, you would have monies to move forwards with maybe developing another green filter
Sure.
in that area or something.
All right, so we'll bring it up with Delaware. There are water and sewer engineers right now. I'll bring it up with them and see what their assessment is.
Okay.
But I just believe that sooner or later, we're gonna get manganese there. It's literally across the street from Town Park.
Mr. Supervisor, again, my recollection, it's been some months since I've looked at the resolution, is there is a requirement on the developer to install a filtration system.
Okay.
But I guess my question is, how do we design a filtration system if nothing was detected?
If there's a requirement for you to install it, you can install it and it's just not activated. Right? You could pipe around it, bypass it, and if it's needed, then.
Well, what size filtration system am I going to need?
You could design it off of what Hamiltonian Park has.
Water usage, number of houses. Well, we can discuss.
We could take a look at that.
We'll take a look.
We can
That's
take a
not a
look at
big
that. I
deal.
mean, we're not opposed to doing it.
No,
That's
it's
gonna
not a
be a
big deal.
requirement, we'll do what's necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we're looking for the town to schedule the public hearings for the formations of these districts, or formation of the drainage district and the extension of the water and sewer districts.
So, when was the last time that well 1 and well 3 was tested for flow?
This report is from 2003 that I have.
2003. So, I guess my question is, with my limited history of wells change. Sometimes they change drastically. You're going on 2003, 250 gallons a minute. I remember they said that was an artesian well. You go out there now, I don't know, it's flowing. So it was, it was great. But in 2023, maybe it's 50 gallons a minute.
So was any request done by the
Yes.
planning board for that?
Yeah, they had done a redo of the pump test. I don't remember exactly when.
So it wasn't, it wasn't.
Right.
Oh, okay.
No,
Oh,
so as part of the seeker
Right.
review, we went through
Yeah.
the final EIS a couple of years ago. And during that process, we did have to update the flow test. And then there was a finding statement. The planning board, believe me, on the technical issues, particularly water and sewer, were very, very detailed. There's a very detailed finding statement. There's significant sections on water and sewer and wastewater. So yes, all legitimate questions, but there's been a lot of technical data done recently at the planning board on the water and sewer for the project.
It's sufficient for the planning board?
Yes,
Okay.
the board made secret findings.
Very good.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So, let's see, and then I guess what you're saying, John, tonight is that the water is potable, all you would have to do is basically chlorinate it,
Well, we would
as
have
it
to-
stands now, right?
From the test results that were
Right,
done then,
that-
yeah,
Yeah, and now, were they back from 2003
that was
as well?
2003.
I see.
I don't know if, based upon the new flows that they did, if there was another analysis, we can take a look at that.
Was there a quality update from 2003?
I don't recall, but they are going to have to update it as part of their Part 5 of the Department of Health.
The Department of Health is gonna go through this first.
Yeah, they're gonna
They
go
will
through
not
this
be
and they're gonna
allowed
do,
to
and,
look it up.
I mean, if the town's gonna require us to put in a filtering system and leave it offline, I mean, it's going to be there. I mean, whatever the Department of Health requires, we're gonna have to do regardless.
Very good.
Right. And
Anything
then,
else, George?
yeah, I had one other question, back to what we were talking about with Assume, with the drainage. And it's, basically, it's for Sean and Broderick. They have a figure of $10,000. That's what it's gonna cost the homeowners each
Year.
year. Divided up, it's like $37, I think, or something along those, a minuscule amount. But we gotta check that out, whether or not that's gonna be adequate to
Yes.
do all that we have to do.
Yes.
That's what I have.
I have not yet looked at that report from April, but I presume you're going to want me to take a look at it.
So these things we'll address as we get closer to
And I guess
part of the
tonight,
company.
yeah, tonight we're gonna
Set a public
possibly set
hearing.
the public hearings.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so, Rory, any question or any concerns about setting a public hearing for both?
I would separate, two
Yeah.
separate
Two separate
public
public
hearings.
hearings,
Yeah, but no concerns on drainage district tracks along with the other two that we've done for tonight?
I have one question for you, Rory. You want
Yeah.
to set them as two separate? Could they be two separate on the same
Same
night?
night.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely,
oh, sure,
Yeah, just,
yeah,
I think
And I
they're,
concur that
they're
they-
separate and apart.
yeah.
They should be, there's two separate.
No, I just wanted to make
Right.
sure it was the same night.
So it's two separate votes.
Yeah, of course.
So do we have a date in mind? I
But
guess you guys
if
want
there's
to
a-
get going, right?
An issue, you
Yeah.
can set a contingent, do you have a concern, a particular concern about either
No.
one?
No, let's just, if they waited long enough, let's get through public hearings and.
Yeah, just two separate votes, just
Yeah.
for the motion, make sure they're
Two
clear.
public hearings, two
Yeah.
separate votes.
Same
The next meeting?
Would that give us enough time?
No, I would go out, I would give,
The
2 weeks?
last meeting in July?
The last meeting in July is July 27th.
I prefer to go out the 30 days, just to, but,
Yeah,
you know, I
July,
don't.
July 27th?
So per Rory, if you wanted, that's the 30 days, so.
2 weeks is technically enough, but
Right.
it cuts you
So that'd be the
tight
27th
with
of July.
getting you guys the
That's 5 weeks.
particular citizens and neighbors that you gotta notice, and just safer to do 30, make
Does
sure.
that work for you guys? Is that enough time for you to get what you need to get done?
That works for us.
That'd be
Okay.
fine, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Gilchrist, if you got any I'm not, you're not familiar with the process, but anything that we require on it, just reach out to me.
I appreciate it, thank you.
No problem.
Joe, can you say what both public hearings would be?
I'm sorry, what's that?
so we're gonna set the public
What both
hearing.
public hearing would be?
Make a motion. to
Well,
set
make a
the
motion
public
for the first
hearing.
one, either one, whatever you wanna
To
do. The Drainage
establish-
district is pretty familiar.
For the drainage district?
Do that one, do a
Okay.
motion for that.
To establish a drainage district
Yep,
for July 27th at 7 PM or anytime, or soon thereafter.
that's satisfactory.
And second on that
Great.
motion?
Second.
For ADC Maple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would
You
help.
see, maybe that's all what we're talking about, but yes, you're right. Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need do we need roll call?
You don't?
No.
I mean, to me, you should always do roll call, it doesn't make a difference, but
Bill?
it's not necessary.
Aye,
George?
okay,
Aye.
Joe? Aye. Rick?
All right.
Doug?
Aye.
okay.
All right, and the second one would, if you will.
Drainage district, and what's the second one is?
The expansion of the existing town and water sewer
Water
district
sewer
off of
district.
developers agreement, the existing developers agreement.
On Maplewood, for the Maplewood development,
Yep.
that's the motion. You got that?
At July,
On
July 27th for
27th
ABC Maplewood.
yep,
at
at 7.
7:01 or anytime thereafter.
But it's essentially.
You can list them at 7 o'clock.
I can?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I just want to make sure I
Essentially
put one in the
to
park.
possibly create a water and sewer district. isn't it?
Extension of the water and sewer district.
There's one already existing by way of the
Right.
developers agreement. This is an extension of it into,
Into Hamiltonian Park.
Oh, I see, oh,
Yeah.
that's an extension.
Not forming a new
Yeah,
district,
This
just an
district
expansion.
already
Exists,
exists.
yeah,
It's an
We just
extension.
want to
right,
Correct.
to extend.
expand it.
So could I have that motion?
I just did.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call,
Okay.
Phil?
Aye,
George?
Aye.
Aye. Rick?
all right,
Doug?
Aye.
yeah, okay, good.
Very good,
Done.
gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
I see you all again.
Good to see you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, next item. Next item is adopt introductory law number 2 of 2023 entitled Flood Damage Prevention as a local law number 3 of 2023. These are the recommendations that were given to us on, by the DEC to update and amend their mandatory changes.
Supervisor, just a quick point of reference. And I didn't catch this earlier, but I might have misheard. When we designated on the public hearing for introductory local law number 3 of 23 to be local law, and I believe you referred to it as number 1 of 23,
Correct, that's what,
I think it's actually based on either that's got to be renumbered or what we're upon us right now has to be renumbered.
what we're doing now is local law number 2 to local law number 3.
Introductory local law number 2 into local law number 3 of 23. So I think for an amendment of, unless I'm confusing myself, but I don't believe I am, I
What
think.
do we smell on fire?
I smell that.
The
It's
heat.
it's the heat. It's the first time we've turned it on.
It was my brain trying to figure out what it was.
Well, I only asked Sabrina to turn it up a little bit.
I just 1 degree up.
So on introductory law number 3, okay, so I had a motion to adopt local law number 3 as local law number 1 of 2023.
Right.
So that takes 3 and makes it 1. Then the next one I had was adopt local law number 4 as local law number 2 of 2023.
I see where you got it. Thank you.
Okay?
That's fine. Thank you.
And now a motion to adopt local law number 2 of 2023 as local law 3 of 2023.
Well, you got to write in a motion on it, did you?
Yes, because I have a motion.
Motion, okay, I make that motion.
Doug?
I'll second.
George, second, all in favor?
Aye. Or is this
Is
local?
that
Roll
right?
call.
Yeah, it is. No, it's,
Phil? Can I have a roll call? Phil?
Aye.
George? Aye. Rick?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And
Okay, move along.
That was easy.
Okay, next item on the agenda is discuss and authorize the supervisor to sign any and all documents related to the conservation easement by Chesterdale Properties LLC. Package here. Anybody have any questions relative to it?
No.
All right, can I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, roll call.
No,
Should we roll call for conservation easement?
just a motion, right? Mainly, I wasn't for the public hearing.
Okay, next item on the agenda, accept the resignation of part-time police officer Spencer Sutherland as of June 6, 2023. He's taking a job with the village of Chester. They're not allowed to double tin, as they call it, so he was forced to resign from the police department. Sent him off a letter thanking him for his service.
Yep. And I got a lot of feedback on the motion, so I'm not gonna ask for a motion to accept it. We can move on and send them a letter.
Okay.
though, and thank
Next
them.
is approve the town board meetings of June 8, 2023. Got the meeting in front of you. I didn't have any questions on it, no comments on it, anything?
I'm going to abstain, I wasn't here.
Understand, Joe?
No. So moved.
Second?
Second.
Rick, second, all in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain.
Yep.
One abstention. Okay. On the agenda tonight is an update on where we stand with the green sand system in Hamiltonian Park.
Right.
As you're all aware, we hired Delaware Engineering to put together a plan for the installation and maintenance of moving forward of the green sand system. As of right now, we have the property between wells 5, 4, and 4A, is it? Surveyed by Dillon Surveying, we have that in place. The Board of Health application is going to be submitted to the Board of Health on the 15th of July. Should be ready to go. Did we get a map? I give you a copy of the map, right? So we're looking at whether we can do the work ourselves to clear out that property in order for us to extend the connection between all of the wells back to the brand-new sand filtration system on the on Well Road. That's where we stand as of today. Board have any questions on that?
So we're gonna run all wells to one, and just run one sand filter?
We're gonna run the 3 wells to 1. We're not gonna abandon well 6. We're gonna have it, but it won't be part of the water flow unless there's an emergency. But everything, the 3 wells will flow through the green sand system, and we'll eliminate completely the manganese and the iron out of those wells for those residents in Hamiltonian Park. then we'll have to move on to Arcadia Heights, but right now, we're just doing it in.
No, they actually have the design for what they're gonna build in.
The design hasn't been, it's been looked at and engineered, but it hasn't been priced out yet, that's what we're waiting for.
Good, very good.
Okay. Okay, discuss, Mary would like the approval of the purchase and installation of cellular units for the water sewer meters. I know we have a lot of questions on this relative to cost, she's laid it out for all of us, but the issue with the current water meters are, you know, people are going away and we have snowbirds that are going off to their beautiful homes in the south during the wintertime, and we've had multiple, should I say multiple people, multiple people that have returned back to a $3,000, $2,000 water bill because something was leaking. Not much we can do, they were forced to pay the bill. The new cellular meters are gonna allow us to have real-time, on-time understanding of the water usage for each of those homes. I know it's kind of costly, you know, it will work it, I think we can work it into the overall plan that Delaware's putting together for us. I'm not sure whether anybody's gonna be comfortable tonight of approving it, but I'm open to discussion from the members. I'd like to hear from each of them.
I've got a question then for Christine. What is the amount of money we have in abeyance to spend on this? Is this gonna exceed it?
The capital water budget for Hamiltonian Park.
Okay.
No, what we talked though, there was, the sewer had much more money than the water.
I hold on a minute, off the top of my head, I don't know the balance in the account.
The water funds are not as healthy as the sewer funds.
Right.
You know, we have some options, we can adjust the ratings, but we're waiting for Delaware, you know, to do their analysis before we go changing rates, but.
Well, for the board, we have the green sand filters, we don't know what that's really gonna cost. This is another one. And they're probably, you know, we were talking earlier tonight about, you know, in the past, every year we would line so much of the sewer line for I&I. I think we need to put all of them together, so, and then Delaware Engineering, whether their costs are going to be, so we can see what it is we're doing. And to do this on its own.
I'm not sure that Mary wants it done on its own. I think she wants it approved for the overall plan. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, it does take a while to unfortunately get these meters as well.
But are we gonna spend the money is what I'm sharing. I mean, we're gonna put them on order and gonna be in the end of July and do it, and we're not ready for it. I'm just looking, I'm a financial person. And when you spend money that you think you got but you don't have, it can be a disaster. And then you have something you really wanna do, you have to put in the back burner because you've already committed to this one. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, no, listen, I hear what you're saying. You know, and I don't know if there's a happy medium here other than the fact that, you know, these water and sewer districts, you know, have issues. We all agree that.
Well, why don't we approve it tonight relative to the understanding the finances or something like that? But
well, I'm not even sure we need to approve it tonight. I think that we probably need more discussion on it.
Okay.
I'd like to ask a question.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm trying to understand this technology and what it's supposed to accomplish. So if we put this meter on each house, is that going to tell us that there's a leak someplace and
Give
excessive water usage?
Rod can weigh in
Well,
on
let me back up just a little bit. We have meters now that are readable as you drive by.
Right.
So we have a meter
I
reader.
understand.
Those meters have batteries in them. So the existing meters have a limited life. And it's usually between 10 and 20 years.
Okay.
So, in the thought process of replacing those meters as they go bad,
Okay.
which can cause a problem because you're having a whole bunch of, you go out to Him Park, you go to read the meters and 50 of them don't work,
Right.
and then you're gonna have to change them real quick. The reason we went to cellular was because you no longer had to drive by to read it.
Okay.
It sends its signal out, it's a low power signal like a text message. It's not like trying to make a cellular phone call.
Right.
So it sends this out periodically, and not only can the homeowners look at what their usage is, it also sends out all kinds of flags. If something looks like it's leaking, it'll send out a flag that obviously would go to Karina's office once that's all set up.
So that's really what I'm getting at. So what we're looking at is the technology to tell us that this particular house may have a leak because there's excessive water being used?
Correct.
Is that
Yes,
what this is
correct.
for? So-
Or more
real-time
water.
meter reading.
Well, the mealtime
Yeah.
meter reading is great. That I understand.
So it's also a cost cut down on
Oh,
labor
I-
for you guys driving around.
I'm looking for the good points
Yeah.
in this thing. The meter reading is a good point. A good point is that if you have batteries and so on, you don't have to do that. All of that's really good. My only concern would be that if there's a leak in the house, which is causing excessive water, and that's our biggest problem, is that when people come home from the south, they find a big water bill. What is our responsibility, liability? How do we get into that house? Do we go?
No, we just notify them.
What I'm saying, do we monitor it? Do we notify them?
Notify them.
So we're gonna have to monitor each of the houses for usage? I mean, I just don't want it to be cumbersome.
No, I
for
think,
us.
I think there is you can set the computer system up for an alarm reading, so,
Okay.
if you base it on 10 gallons a day and 35 gallons, it sends you an alarm.
Good.
So Karina's gonna look at her screen, she's gonna see, okay, we have an issue here. And we'll have we'll note the person's away, and we'll notify them.
I'll give
If
you an
have a problem,
example
so you can
of-
send somebody.
No,
It's not even just the
We're not
amount,
going
it
into
knows
that.
the amount at the exact given time, it knows that something's leaking, it's not using it.
Phil,
You
that's
can buy
what I
them for your
mean.
house as it is now, they're actually pretty cool.
Phil,
Yeah, that's what
I'll give you an example, Phil. We went a couple years ago, we were put on village water at Highway when they put that new line in that the county paid for. And there have been a couple times where we've gotten a letter from the village of Goshen saying that we must have a leak somewhere.
Yeah.
To check our toilets
Okay.
and obviously it's not a huge leak.
Yeah.
But
But they see an increase in usage over the norm.
and it also is like steady. It's also at night when we're not there, or it's a 24-hour day thing.
Phil, some of the history over the last 10, 15 years, okay? When people go somewhere,
Yeah.
number one, it can be a frozen line. We had one in a garage. That's the only one I remember, okay? But commodes leaking, and somebody comes in to clean or something, and they do it, and the thing starts leaking, and it can go through a lot of water quickly.
Yeah.
The other one is outside faucets. They have a hose on it, and they go south, and it's on, and the shutting off of the nozzle, and it freezes, breaks,
Right.
and we've had that
Yeah, no,
before.
I-
And then we've had to come in and talk,
Yeah.
did it go down the sewer? Remember those discussions we had?
Oh,
So
yeah.
this tells us right away if there's a leak through
Right.
through the system, and so it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about paying for it.
I'll just
No,
mention
I
this as well,
understand.
the homeowner does in fact see the readings as well, so they can also see the spike
Right.
and what's going on.
Right, well, as long as the homeowner's contacted, what I don't want to do is put the responsibility on the town for every single home that something is happening inside that home that we may miss and not respond to, and all of a sudden we're liable because the basement is flooded and you should have told me. And I want to make sure we don't do that, so I think if the homeowner is all notified, and we're flagged, as Joe said, and that's a great idea. And we try to notify them, but
Well, they should get notification also, because they're gonna
that's,
be on.
that's it. So-
And when I
so
mentioned
that's all I'm-
before that it's a while for us to get them, I didn't mean like a month, it's 6 months out to get these devices, unfortunately.
Right.
And it
I'm
will
not
take
worried about-
time
I'm
to
just talking
get
about the
them.
device,
Oh, yeah.
and it's really a question for Rory, more so than anybody else. as to our liability on this, but I think the idea is excellent. I mean, it's really
I think
pretty good. But you know where I'm coming from, Rory.
I did.
Okay.
So I think what Mary's looking for, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think what she's looking for is a board approval to go out and get a bid for what the actual cost is,
Yeah, I
to
think
then
she
present
should.
to the board.
Yeah, I don't think you.
Yeah, well, she said we'd like approval to proceed with the purchase and installation of these.
Correct.
So she wants to purchase and install them.
But she needs a bid to go out and see what the cost is, and then come back to us on that,
Gotcha.
so.
Okay.
Well-
You don't,
Okay, let me just say, you need a bid on the installation.
correct.
The Badger meter themselves are sold by Schmidt's Wholesale. They're the exclusive dealer. That's why we've dealt with them in the past. Now, we're all in, we got both feet in with Badger.
Hmm?
So we wouldn't really change our meters.
No, she needs a bid to go out on the installation, so we
The
need 2 bids for
installation,
the
yes.
installation of what the cost is, and then she can come back to the board, say, this is our cost, this is what the homeowners are going to be assessed, and then obviously we'd have to have a public hearing to talk about it, and get the
Good.
people from Hamiltonian Park in here to assess whether they're okay with spending that money
And that
over
bid will
time.
probably have to be public.
Correct, public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so could I have a motion allowing Mary to go out to bid, to get bids for the installation of the cellular water units?
So these are not official bids, these are estimates, right? That she's gonna go out and get.
She's gonna go out and get bids for what the installation cost is gonna
But then
be.
she has to do the bid specs.
Could
You have to
I-
do the bid specs.
So under general militia law, if it's over $35,000.
Right.
You would have to do a competitive bid. A
Right.
competitive bid is made up of sealed proposals and an advertisement in your official newspaper, right? You can, if it's under 35,000, public work, meaning labor and
Right.
material, then you would default to your procurement policies, which likely would be 3 written quotes. So I don't know, this is the first time I'm hearing this, I don't know what the
Right.
ballpark is estimated for this. So these are gonna be over 35,000?
I don't know, that's why I asked.
How many houses are in Hamiltonian Park?
166.
What's that? I
166.
think the average cost for install that I got from Schmidt is roughly around $130 a house.
So you got that already. So
Well,
you
that's
know-
from the distributor of
That's
Badger.
okay, I just need something, whether it's 100 or 6,000.
Well, I have.
Yeah, so it's
I have the
okay,
fi-
well, that's
the
good.
figures are.
Well, the
figures are
second
right here.
paragraph, it
Yeah.
says, the estimated cost for the cellular units from Schmidt is $160,899.
For the purchase.
That's for the meter.
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
purchase.
then I've got
Okay.
2 quotes of 104 and 140 for their
For the
installation.
installation, so we've got that.
So,
We got that.
so roughly, it's, for argument's sake, it's a $300,000 bill,
Yeah,
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
For all in.
Hence $459 per home.
$450 a house.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Rod, you just said something before, we're all in with Badger.
Right.
So there
That-
is a part of municipal stuff, Sean, that allows you, if you're with a specific type of product, let's say, that you're able to, like, in quotes, bypass.
Well, you have
State
to,
bid.
you have to
You're talking
honor
about state bid.
exclusive agreements for manufactured products.
There could be 3 options. There's definitely 2, there may be 3. Option 1 is you produce a bid, and in the bid spec, you say that there's no change. It must be this to tie in with the existing.
Right.
The other option is what Christine said, would be a sole source provision. You make a determination that because of the infrastructure you have already in place, it has to be this, and you could proceed that way. The third bid, I don't know if George or Phil said it, is to look to see if it's available on state bid, and then you can piggyback on.
Right, that's,
on
I
that.
said state bid,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so.
But I think what I hear you saying, Rod, is we would have to be going with Badger. Is that true?
Well, when we purchased in the past, we have a letter from Badger saying that Schmidt's Wholesale is their only
Exclusive.
distributor dealer in this area.
Right.
But that's not saying that you
No.
must buy from
Right.
Schmitz, and you must actually have a Badger meter. You could go
Right.
in completely different direction. So I think, Roger,
Yeah,
even though you have that letter, it's not an agreement that the town is going to only install Badger meters in
No.
the future. So I think it goes back to those 3 options.
Well, if I was Schmidt's, I'd be pretty upset if there was another way around it.
I'm not saying there's a way around it, I'm just saying that the town has certain obligations under state law that they have to
Right.
comply with.
Yeah.
And I-
It's not, I don't
But
think it's.
our
going-
obligation is to go out to bid if nobody else is capable of bidding
Correct.
because there's an area, because they have a, what do you call it in this area, exclusivity in this area, then we've satisfied what the state is. We went out to bid.
That's
Only
correct.
one bid came in,
Right.
correct?
And we have to prepare the bid specs, but you can see if they're on the state bid. I mean, if they're on the state list, then we probably could purchase
Can-
those.
Yeah, and
I
one
wonder
other
if
thing
they
to add
would.
to that before we get off that topic, in 2012, New York State modified the bidding requirement.
Okay.
And there's actually the ability for you to piggyback, so if you could even find, let's say the Village of Monroe, for example, was doing very similar.
Right.
You could, if
Piggyback off their bid.
If their
Off
bid was
theirs.
structured a certain way and Rory confirms that it satisfies the requirements, you could piggyback on it.
Yeah, or the county or any other municipality, right?
Correct,
Yeah,
including
yeah.
installation.
Okay, so
Do
we do have options.
Do we have the ability to state that we will, this is the product that we
Yes.
want in the bid? We do.
Yes.
Okay.
So, this is the first I've heard of this also. Broderick, educate me a bit.
Mhm.
The meters are gonna stay there. This is just like an augmentation to the meter?
No, it's a new.
The, the,
Oh, this is a
the
new
the
meter.
existing
Right, so
meters are gonna
So
be,
then we could get XYZ company and put these
Right.
things in,
Right.
and just, we're gonna cut out the Badger ones, right? They're no longer there.
Right.
Putting the new thing in, it could be anybody's, cellular units, right?
no, because you have to match with the Badger, there's a brass meter that goes on there, and what the
The solar
meter,
goes on top.
reader portion is a head that goes on there. So there's a meter with, an analog that you always could read.
Yeah, we're not
But-
changing the meters out.
Right, okay, so then that's, I
So-
said- I
so
thought I
you
heard
need
say
something
before we
that-
were taking that out, but
Right.
we're not.
So those brass ones are Badger meters.
Right.
So what interfaces with those now is has the ability to send out the signal that we drive by. That'll go away, and the new head will go on, and that'll be a cellular head.
Just part of that whole unit will be changed out, not the whole thing.
Yes,
Just-
yeah, and you're not gonna change
We
all
got
the
it.
brass
Yeah, we
meters.
got it,
You
yeah.
might have to change some,
Right.
because you find them
Understand.
to be
But
defective or.
the estimate is it's gonna cost each homeowner $450.
Well, there's two parts to this. One part is the procurement of the Badger equipment, the other part is the installation.
And that's what
And,
the estimate.
and I think the installation should be a separate, especially if it's gonna be, well, you said what?
Well,
Yeah,
$104 is the lowest bid.
Yeah.
Well, you
And I
said
just-
130.
I took the average, I took 120.
Okay, so 138 times 166, 21,580.
It's under the 35,000.
So you'd have to get multiple prices, that's,
Right.
But we don't have to go out to bid.
no, you don't
Part of
have to
our
do a
procurement, we have
public
to
bid.
get 3 bids.
Yes.
2 bids or 3 bids over 20?
Probably 3.
Yeah, it might be in that
Well-
middle category.
Yeah.
There's step-ups.
Mhm.
You only get
There might be
one.
2.
And then you could publicly bid the meters, like Sean was saying, and.
That we have to go out to bid for.
What I would suggest if you're gonna go out to bid, if you wanna take the route where you bid the meters, is that you include, just like we did on the roof and windows, it's one bidding, but it has 2 contracts, right? So somebody may just be a
Right.
supplier, they don't wanna install, they can give you a price for that, somebody can just install and not give you a price on the meters. And, and then you take the lowest of each of those 2 categories.
I was gonna
And
ask
it
you,
could be the same person.
does this company install also their own product?
Well, I thought Joe said that they said it would be about $130 a meter to install. That was Badger or Schmitz?
That was Schmidt.
I don't think they do the install.
They don't do the install.
No.
I asked them when I bought the sample meter, I had the sample meter delivered to me, so we could try it out. I said, what's the average cost? He said, roughly about, well, prevailing wage, he said, I don't know, depends on who your installer is, but the average cost is about
Okay, all right.
$105.
That was just information.
Information only, yeah, just information.
Well, there certainly seems some very good things about this,
Yeah.
but my overriding concern is we're spending, we don't even, Christine, no disrespect to you at all, you just don't know, and you can't hear not knowing. If you were prepared, you'd be prepared and have it. We don't even know how much money is in the coffers for these people.
For Hampton Park Water, at the end of the year, they had like 40,000 in fund balance.
Okay, so we have the green sand, which is a priority, and we have this to the tune of $450, potentially $450, and the bills in Hamiltonian Park are outrageous already. So I think, well, you know, all of this stuff is good, but I think at the very least, the Hamiltonian Park people, like we had every year, should hear what we're going to do before we actually do it, because
Well, George,
it's a big cost.
So what are we talking about, the meter or
No, I'm talking
clean
about
drinking water?
I'm talking about in general.
But you're bringing up the green sand system as well as the meter.
Yeah, because
Two
I think-
different, two totally
True,
different.
True, and that's a much higher priority in my mind, the green sand. So this thing may be good, but it may be just too much or too expensive at this
time.
particular point.
At this time.
That's all I'm saying.
Could be.
And then Delaware Engineering, when they finally come in with their, have one water district and then one sewer district. But there's a lot of things in the making.
That's what we have a public hearing for too, they can come in.
No, we gotta have the information before we have the public hearing, that's the problem. And we need to pull it all together so that we don't.
Well, George, you bring up a good point, and if cost becomes an issue, it always could be spread out and broken up and done over time as well.
Correct.
You know, you could do so many houses a year.
Well, I think what needs to be done is we need to put together a plan on how we're going to develop this, how we're going to do it, over what time frame we're gonna do it, and how we're gonna pay for it.
Yep.
So, I you know, from what I see these girls go through on a daily basis, it is very difficult, and I was subject to listening to the poor lady in Hamiltonian Park, her bill was $3,000, but there wasn't much I can do. There was nothing I could do, you know, other than take the $3,000 out of my pocket. So it's.
Well, you know, we've had these discussions where this has happened in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's water and it doesn't go down the sewer, then that's one thing. But if the water leaks and it goes down the sewer, that's still, then they gotta pay for the sewer part of it as
Correct.
well. So it could be very costly. And, yeah.
Well, this sounds like a solution, though, a decent solution,
Well,
you know, so, okay.
All right, so I'm gonna get the information, from Mary, we'll put it together, and, we'll bring this back around.
Yeah.
Joe, do you know when Delaware Engineering is going to get back to us relative to consolidation and some of the other things they're working on?
We are waiting for the attorneys in Albany that we hired to, get information from them, and Delaware is coming back around, I believe in the next 30 to 45 days with the plan. I spoke to Mike Aiello not too long ago, so they're working on it.
Good, okay.
Good.
Okay.
That was easy.
So another informational update on the formation of the Water and Sewer District in Watershed 50 that we talked about and preliminary said yes to. There are a lot of components that are going into this that we've been working on. We've established the approval of the transfer of the water rights on the 2 lip-off wells that were on Amy's Kitchen property from the town of Walk Hill over to us when we are ready. Amy's Kitchen is asking, well, I asked Amy's Kitchen for the ability to potentially purchase the lip-off property in order to put a green sand filtration system, water and sewer filtration system up there. There's 2 lots that they purchased. They're both $90,000 each. They've increased in value now, but they're willing to accept, if we're willing to do this, the $90,000 for each lot. So that's something that we have to discuss, talk about, and figure out how we're gonna fund.
Have we done any testing on those lip-off wells, any recent testing?
I asked Tam 2 weeks ago to go ahead and test both of them for me. I had to get permission from both the town of Walk Hill and Amy's Kitchen, which we just got.
think when
Because those were
wells-
toxic wells at
Those
one
were
time.
toxic
We were
wells, that's
gonna-
why
Okay.
Amy's Kitchen.
They're producing 1,000 gallons a minute each.
No, I
No,
understand.
no, we understand the capacity.
Yeah, capacity.
But initially, many years ago, we thought about purchasing those 20 years ago. At that particular point, they were toxic.
Yeah, they're
So,
gonna be doing the water. Yep.
You know, if they're
Well,
not toxic,
they
those are
they
good
did
wells.
test them, Joe, at the time when
Yeah.
Amy's was building out and planning, and that's why because they're gonna put it in foodstuffs. So that's why they went to Middletown. for the
Tammy's
water.
going ahead and
Right.
getting it done for us. They're gonna
Yeah.
test the flow, do a flow test on it, to get usage, pump usage, and they're gonna do a water quality test on it.
Yeah, the
Not that
chemical test
personally,
is
but,
more important.
Yep.
Right, okay.
so that's one thing. I've had major discussions with Amy's Kitchen relative to taking over the water and sewer lines for Middletown and assigning them to the town of Goshen. I did get a preliminary approval from the city of Middletown that they would be agreeable to allowing that to happen, because that's part of the agreement with Amy's. I preliminary have an agreement to discuss and negotiate with Amy's Kitchen, but they're also in agreement to dedicating them over to us, provided that we guarantee their usage when they build.
And what about Science of the Soul? They're gonna, would they hook into that water and sewer?
They're, right now, they are pumping, they have limited usage, but when they go active full, they're pumping into 2 holding tanks, and right now, they're just getting them flushed. Somebody's coming in, the tanker's coming in. Eventually, they'll come over to the water and sewer once either we build a building and form the district, or Amy's gets up and running.
So Amy's is still planning for 2027?
2028.
28.
So, in taking over those, what do we plan to do?
Well, we talked about forming the district in Watershed 50, that commercial district, all
Right.
the way down
All the way down to where?
to Healy Chevrolet and then back up.
And Middletown is agreeable to allow that water to come down?
Yeah.
All the way down here?
Middletown's agreeable to get ratables that they gave Amy's Kitchen 5 years ago. And so
Right.
they're holding that capacity for Amy's Kitchen. They're
Right.
making nothing on it now. So yeah, he's agreeable to,
That one really surprises me, because they had no intention of allowing us to hook up to their water system. Now, they
things
did
change.
Amy's because it was contiguous, kind of contiguous to
Yeah.
Middletown, and it was like an end of the road. This one.
It's an extension all the way down. I mean, I laid it all out for him.
No
And
kidding.
he's,
Well, it's
and
news
then
to
we
me, so,
we would
a lot of
obviously,
this stuff we don't hear, Joe. I know you do a lot of this stuff.
well, that's what I'm giving you.
I know, but we don't hear it, we don't hear the details. And a lot of times, we get,
Well, I'm not
we
asking you. I'm
get brought
giving-
up short because I'm
I'm giving you-
like, what?
I'm giving you an
talk
update,
to-
right? I'm giving you an
Oh,
update
okay.
on what I do on a daily basis
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So you had talked to the mayor of Middletown?
Yes.
And he has talked to all the townships that are,
I
you
couldn't
don't
tell you
know?
what he's talked to, no.
And he'll
I've
do
talked to
what?
the mayor with the county exec and,
Well, but Amy's is okay with it?
yes, they are.
Well, it
Because
doesn't
in the-
matter to Amy's as long as they can tap in. I'm more concerned, I was really under the impression, and only when I was in the legislature, this was like brutal,
Yes.
that they would have, even giving Amy's water, I had to do a lot of manipulation to get Amy's, even though they approved it. Now, for them to supply that whole corridor, are there limitations? Are
No,
there
but we're
2
gonna
or 3
backfill it with
people?
we're hoping to backfill it. Phil, everything changes if the Willow Fork wells are contaminated. This whole deal may fall apart. I'm assuming at
okay.
1,000 gallons each well, that the majority of the water for that district is gonna come from our wells, and the backfill will be from Middletown. So there are a lot of extenuating factors that go into this that we have to prove out. I'm just giving you an update. I'm not,
Oh, thanks.
it's just an update.
Thanks a lot.
It's an update for
I
you
got
to
it,
go
I
home
got it.
tonight instead of watching TV or
I
head over
figure, what the hell is going on?
You'll be sitting here going like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
To Joe, it was I mean, there was a real concern with those rock wells of the contamination,
Yeah.
I guess because of the landfill and all that other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Okay.
they said, no, we we've got to get the water from the village of Goshen or from the city of Middletown to make foodstuffs.
And I can't believe the city of Middletown is not gonna put any restrictions on how much water that we can use. Or there may
100,000
be.
gallons a day. is the
Oh, so
restriction.
there is a.
Well, that's what Amy,
Thanks
yeah, that's
for
what
that
Amy
information.
negotiated.
Well, that's what the
Is
contract
there anything
calls
else?
for.
Is there anything else?
What?
Do I have to extract any other questions?
No, you have to ask the right questions. I'm not, I don't know what all the questions everybody has.
So this is what
I have
sewer
I have a
district
tremendous
50
amount of
is?
knowledge I've been working on for the last,
You
6
can
weeks. so.
share it with us.
What?
We don't mind, you can share it with us. We are the town board.
But I am sharing it with you. I'm giving you an update. I'm not asking you to approve anything. I'm giving you an assessment and an update of what's going on.
So it's 1,000 gallons now that they are.
100,000 gallons a day.
100,000?
Gallons a day.
Really?
What the capacity is now. What,
For Amy's.
correct.
They're willing to give them 100,000.
That was Amy's and Lego, and I'm sorry, and Science and Soul.
Science and Soul, both.
Okay.
I will get you a copy of the agreement. I'll call Larry Walensky, their attorney.
There is a written agreement
Oh,
already?
yeah.
Yeah,
We
there's an
signed it,
agreement.
No, not with Amy's, I'm talking about this new.
No,
New venture.
no.
Oh, okay.
No. We have nothing in writing.
Well, I
That
had
I'll
to-
share
I had
with
to
you.
ask.
That I'll share with you.
Well, I just had to ask.
That, believe me, I'll share with you anything that I have to sign. This is
Okay.
all negotiating tactics 101, that's all.
So,
Thank you.
so with this 100,000 gallons, how can we, because I've mentioned this to you a couple times already, Joe, I'm very fearful of high-density housing. And so.
Commercial sewer district.
Right, I think
We
that,
talked
that's
about
what
that,
you
that's
said.
what we agreed to approve, only a
Right, so
commercial
that's-
sewer district.
this will only be hookups. to
Commercial sewer
commercials.
district.
And so council is that legit? Can we now
What?
say we're getting 100,000 from Middletown? And the only people who can hook up are commercial people?
Well, we're in the industrial zone.
No, well, that whole corridor is not.
It's all industrial.
Right.
I don't know. That's,
I don't know
that-
either.
That seems a little.
Well, let the council tell.
Quasi in my.
Let's put him on the spot.
I
Let's put his feet on the
don't
fire.
expect you to answer it, actually, right now. It's a question that I want to throw
When we
out.
discussed it 3 months ago and it got tabled,
We did.
it got tabled.
Yeah,
So
Well,
I'm gonna
right.
table it if the board wants a formal opinion on it, then I'll dive back into
Well, let
it.
me share
For the
with you what-
purposes of the discussion, I'm sorry, Doug, I just want to finish my
Yeah, go ahead.
quick response to it. For the purposes of what's gone on with the negotiations, we're operating under the premise that it is doable, because from what I understand, what my research has shown, it is. But then I also tabled it when the process stalled. So as you progress on it and you authorize me to dive back into it, I will get you a formal opinion on it.
Well, it's gonna be part of needing, a need to know.
Yeah.
Without doing that, then George is right,
I understand. And we've been, for what it's worth, my communication with you has been pretty much on the regular as it relates to this project, and you've set
Have you
down
had any
different-
experience, Sean, with that? You have any experience
Because he was
with
involved
commercial
in the
districts
negotiations for
and water in
Amy's
only
with the
commercial
city of
districts?
Right.
And what I remember about it is
Okay.
that Amy's Kitchen, that water, okay, had to be used as it was.
That was a dead end.
Because the fact is they were worried about, that's why we didn't give it to Deer Park and Minnesink and those others where they wanted to use it for other parks and how, somebody can come in there and say, well, boy, I want all these built houses here. Not just in Goshen, but in those other two municipalities. And if they can get that water, well, there they go. So, I mean, we have to be very careful so we protect our, what we want to do, I guess.
Okay.
Well, I think we're clear on what we want to do.
Okay.
Now, what has to, we have to get a determination from our attorney that what we want to do is legal.
Yeah, and defensible, we can defend our position.
Mr. Supervisor, can I just add one thing to this, and it may tie it together?
Please.
So, when the line was installed from the Village of Florida to the county jail, Rick
Yeah.
Golden was a county attorney at that time. And they were worried, what you're talking about in secret parlance is growth-inducing aspects.
Yeah.
When you run a water or sewer line somewhere, there is a potential, and that's something this board has dealt with in connection with Rieger and extending lines back to the village, and what can those lines cause in terms of growth. So I bring up Rick and the Village of Florida because we applied the same approach for that line, because it's the same thing. And what we did was, seeker was structured in both instances such that nobody could tie in without studying the growth-inducing aspect. So if that wasn't done in that way, Amy's would have had to evaluate the development potential all along that line. So my understanding is if you do proceed with this, you know, you get a legal opinion that you can, as part of your seeker review to do this, you're going to have to study the impacts of potential growth on that line.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. And based on the amount that we used, if we can't back it up with any of our wells, Middletown is definitely, I'm just telling you, they're not gonna give us water to supply that whole corridor.
I would be shocked if in that district, with it being mostly warehousing that's going in there, with some manufacturing going in there, and a limited amount of people, that we get anywhere near the 100,000 gallons a day of water. I mean, the biggest employer there is gonna be Milmar.
Right.
So, again, like I said, without productive wells on the Lip-Off property that are non-contaminated, this whole thing kind of goes away.
So that was a condition of this discussion?
No, I'm looking at it, there's no possible way for us to build it without those wells. There's just not enough water usage. And then you gotta remember, you go into a drought, Middletown can shut us off at any time if that.
Anytime.
Right, so we have to have our own
No
water
question
producing
about
wells.
it. I can tell you the
No.
reserves are the townships around Middletown.
Yeah.
And they can just shut Middletown off because the reservoirs are up in Greenville and all
Right.
those areas. And now where are we?
Yeah, no,
So-
listen, it's,
so
obviously, it's an extensive landfill,
It is.
I get it, I
Yeah.
understand it, but,
Okay.
you know, water
Yeah.
is
It's
something
paramount.
that this town has to get a handle on,
Yeah,
because
it's
it's,
paramount. Absolutely. Yeah, okay. We're good.
So Doug and Phil already weighed in, but I want to weigh in as well. The Lip-Off wells from I guess it was the first time I got into politics, was 1980. And the Lip-Off wells have been toxic, you know, or potentially toxic since even before that. I mean, nobody would touch those wells for the last 30 or 35 years.
Well, who knows?
How Amy's decided to buy it at the time, I think maybe they were ignorant of the fact or whatever. So I just want to weigh in that I think and it's not just you do a 96-hour test. You know, you pull on that. You pull on those wells month after month after month. And then all of a sudden, you're getting stuff in those wells that weren't there originally because of the continuing
George,
pull.
that's the affluent that's coming out of the two landfills. The DEC just said, just change the rating on both of those facilities. There is no more affluent coming, it's done.
Right. I'm just telling you
I
that.
understand, but it's not even how much water comes out of it, it's testing the wells and constantly testing the wells. You know, the contamination part of it is gonna be what comes out of the landfill.
And I don't know what does, you said green sand, does green sand take away stuff like toluene, I think is one of the things, and benzene?
No,
stuff like
probably
that?
not.
We tried to buy those, too,
Crazy.
just for your information, 15 or 20 years ago, and we couldn't buy them because they were, but who knows?
We're gonna get them
Maybe now
tested.
they're cleaned up and.
So,
you
George,
know,
to satisfy you, what is it that you're going to want beyond just the testing?
Well, I mean, I certainly have an open mind. I'm just saying that for so many different organizations and so many different boards and stuff that discussed the Lip-Off wells, everybody came away with it, hey, it's just too risky.
When is the last time that any board has tested the wells? To your knowledge?
A long time ago.
Okay, so
Yeah, so.
time changes everything.
They were tested when Amy's was buying the land and all of this kind of thing. That's when they said they couldn't use them. That's when they really
Who said
rushed
that?
Amy's Kitchen.
That's not what they told me.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, why did they go to
That's why they
Middletown?
bought them. They bought them for use of the water.
Well,
Yeah, and then they were-
no, then they found out they
Then they were
could
cautioned
not
not
use
to
them,
use
and that's
them, I
why they
think.
went to Middletown.
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what I knew. I mean, that's what I,
and that's what I remember.
yeah.
Well, okay, so.
Yeah, so anyway, I mean.
We're gonna test them.
Joe, get up tomorrow morning.
Just one,
We're gonna test them.
just one other thing. It seems to me, every time I hear another story about Amy's, it's one more tick. They're not coming, you know?
Yeah.
And-
I'm not gonna
and-
comment on that.
And so, I don't know, it's 50-50 or 40 or whatever, they're coming. But if they come or they don't come, hey, fine. The only thing I wanna say is, I hope Science of the Soul is not up and functioning without Amy's.
They will
Because
be.
that was the deal. The deal was, they were gonna be here, and then Science of the Soul was gonna be here. And now what I think I hear happening is, Science of the Soul is gonna be here, and Amy's gonna be in California.
I don't know, George, where you get that information from?
Well, I'm
Yeah.
just
I think
telling
that's,
you, it's 35 years of experience.
Okay, well,
Very good.
then, we'll, all right, so moving on. We
Mr.
also,
President, I'm gonna leave unless you need.
Sure.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
the other thing that has come up while we were looking at all these different things, that there is a wastewater treatment facility plant at the New York State Psychiatric Center that they are looking to abandon because they want to build a water and sewer line to Middletown. And they've gotten approval from the city of Middletown. And there's a big infrastructure project that's going on right now on Route 17M with the DOT because they want to run along 17M. So Delaware Engineering is their engineering firm, and he's also our engineering firm. So John Brust has come to me to say, maybe we should look at this at the overall package to provide water and sewer in that watershed. So unfortunately, the state won't talk to me without a board resolution authorizing me to allow them to talk to them. So I'm asking the board to give me a resolution that allows me to negotiate with New York State with no guarantee or that we have to do anything other than negotiate the potential of taking over the wastewater treatment facility plant.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that was easy.
We can't beat you up on everything.
Warm down.
Just to talk.
So, on another note, Delaware Engineering did tell me that they worked on a solution for Amy's Kitchen to double the capacity with the approval of Middletown of that system. Double the capacity of the size of those wells. I've asked them to give me a copy of that, which I will present to the board.
Double capacity of the liquid
Well,
well?
no, double the capacity of the water and sewer going to Middletown. So right now, the lines have a capacity of
Oh,
100,000 water and I think 300,000 sewer, and they can double that to 200,000 water and 600,000 sewer.
By
By
just putting
installing
bigger
tanks and
pumps?
stuff.
Oh.
Right.
By putting bigger pumps or something on it?
No, tanks and stuff in front of everything. Holding tanks and,
oh, okay.
All right.
Same infrastructure.
that's my update. We'll come back to you in 6 months, because I got beat up tonight.
No, you didn't.
George is yelling at
No,
me.
you got the soft shoe.
I'm only kidding.
He was looking at me the
just
whole
telling you
time,
how I feel.
Joe.
That's
He might have been yelling at you, but he's looking at me.
Okay, as the board,
I gotta change this
moving on,
location.
as the board is aware, thanks to research that Christine has done, that there is a strong possibility, did you say, Christine? That we have information that the US government will be looking to pull back the ARPA money if we haven't utilized it?
Well, there was an email from the GFOA back in April, and it said, GFOA of US and Canada just announced that there are proposals now in Congress to claw back unobligated ARPA funds. And it was anything that wasn't obligated by the end of '24. However, according to the original plan, we were required to obligate the funds by the end of '24 anyway,
Right.
and spend them by the end of '26.
So
So
what-
either
how much
way,
money
it
do we
seems like
have?
we need to,
$194,000.
So,
$494,000?
no, 431,
$431,000.
And that's Fund A and B?
B only.
B only.
so what they're
B or
really
C.
saying is, if you don't use it by the time we told you to use it,
You're gonna lose it.
we'll
Right.
take it back. I can
Exactly.
understand that.
Right.
Okay.
So my point
That's
is, we
nothing
need to
new.
start thinking about it
Sure.
so that we can probably put it in the budget for next year.
Yes, that's when we should do it, is at budget time.
But
To do what?
Christine, when
We
you're
don't need-
budgeting that, it should be a one-time
It's
kind of
appropriated
thing
for
versus
Right.
hiring on people
Well,
that are gonna
exactly.
create a problem.
Acquisition of equipment wouldn't be part of budgeting for next year. We're utilizing ARPA money.
Mm.
Wait, say that again?
Acquisition of equipment
Right.
in B-only areas, police and equipment for the highway department. If we,
Equipment for highway is DA, we can't do
yeah,
that.
okay.
Only
So what are the areas besides police?
Police, building and zoning, which there really isn't anything I can think of. Road improvements, MS4.
Right, she gave us a list.
Yeah.
Okay.
She sent us out a list of what, at my request,
Mhm.
that what it could be used for. But what I'm saying to you is if we use some of it now, when we come to budget time, we should do the appropriation and make
Right.
sure
I mean, we
that
can
we
spend
account.
it this year. if
We
there's
can,
some-
whatever we don't spend,
Mhm.
is what I'm saying to you, is we should prepare
Right.
to make sure we spend it for the projects next year.
But Phil, we,
Yeah.
as we create our organization and all this, we gotta spend it, but not build it such that the expectation is when the money's cut off, that we've got this big organization
We're
to
not,
still
yeah.
fund or whatever.
I think we're looking solely at acquiring equipment and
Equipment?
things like that,
Okay.
that we're not looking at adding personnel based on money that we can utilize from ARPA, because then we'd have to budget that money
Right.
when the
Going
ARPA money
forward.
runs out. This is strictly acquisition of capital equipment.
The
and
roads, we
improvements.
can do the roads next year, we can put it in the road fund,
We
right?
talked about, yeah, doing,
You know,
we actually
yeah,
talked about, yeah.
Yeah, we could just put a couple
So,
$100,000.
I haven't gotten,
in the road.
I haven't gotten Rod's
Is that
listing.
DB?
I've only
Roads?
received the police chiefs, that's
What's
it.
his DB?
Good.
DB, okay.
Yeah.
DB.
No, she can.
So there are
use
two-
roads, she said,
Roads are DB, not DA.
but we can use it on the road.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
We can use B fund
And-
and DB
and
fund.
DB
That's the
fund.
same tax base.
Got it,
Yeah.
I'm with you there. Okay.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
not DA, which is equipment.
Right, okay.
Good.
So along with the administrative study that was done by the state in 2006, we've asked for a new one on the police department. That brings me to what we could spend some ARPA money on. You guys received an email from me in reference to sending potentially 2 police officers to the academy utilizing the ARPA funds. This weighs on, this board's decision in the past to always try to eliminate any potential issues with full-time officers because of past performance and things of such a nature. I think this is a golden opportunity for take 2 young Goshen kids, put them through the police academy, and utilize ARPA to pay for them.
So ARPA will pay for the academy and the salaries of these police
While they're
officers?
in- Christine, right? While
While they're in
they're
the
in.
salaries? I mean, while they're in the academy?
Mhm.
So there'll be no cost to us to train these
Right.
officers?
And these people would be on the police department?
Yeah.
Well, when they come out of the academy.
Well, but they wouldn't be put on a list where somebody else can grab
No,
them?
no, no, no.
Okay, that's.
They're committed to us.
Okay.
We talked about
Right.
this, getting, I think max you can do is a 2-year contract with them. They'd have to stay with you for 2 years. But these are 2 young Goshen kids that we looked at, that are on the list, both scored in the 95 percentile. One of them came out of the US military, the other out of the private sector.
So they're on the list already?
They're on the list already. They're both 95. One's Terrence Moore, the other is, what is it? You can say it.
William Guy.
Guy, that's how I couldn't think of it. William Guy. He came out of the military. He actually lives in Campbell Hall, and Terrence Moore lives here in the village of Goshen with his parents.
What do you need from us?
There was
I would need, the approval to go ahead and place the 2 officers in the academy utilizing ARPA funds.
the Peter Pursuit was on.
Yeah,
Pursuit
absolutely.
accepted a job at the town of New Windsor.
Okay.
Oh, I see, so,
Yep.
yeah.
Fine.
So
I'll
that
make the
was-
motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doug will make the motion. Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
So, I just want to,
Yeah.
I just want to discuss a little bit
Well, for
further about
discussion,
the, what?
Made the motion for discussion.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So, I'm okay with the process. First, it doesn't solve the immediate problem, right? The immediate problem
It
is.
does
still-
solve the immediate problem. I
It
was
does?
gonna get to that once you told me.
Oh, okay.
One of these police officers,
Come on, Joe, give us the info, jeez.
because I didn't know he was gonna ask the question. So it does solve, you were gonna say it doesn't solve the immediate problem
Right.
that we have 35 slots that we can't fill in the month of July. Well, William Geit has already on his own done phase 1. He only has to do phase 2, which is 2 weeks. He would become a full-time officer in, the phase 2 class begins in Ulster County in 2 weeks. He would be a full-time officer 2 weeks later. So it solves a good portion of their problem in the month of July.
Well, how about the other
Terrence
fellow?
Ward goes into, he doesn't become an officer until January.
Yeah, so I knew that, we talked about
Right.
that, and that was actually an enhancement for me to.
The savings too.
Look more favorably.
Yeah,
towards it.
absolutely.
But all I wanted to talk about actually was, we already said that they have a 2-year commitment, but the 2-year commitment is, as I see it, they should, if they decide to leave before the 2 years, they would, whatever the tuition was, one
Right.
guy would have less tuition and the other guy would have more tuition, the tuition costs. Plus, Christine did a workup and it came out to $39,329.54. So I guess what I'm saying, as far as council is concerned and the board is concerned, that's what I think should happen, is if they now become a police officer, they're here 6 months and they say, hey, I got a great job in Rockland County and I'm gonna be paying, I'm gonna make $20,000, $30,000 more, they would have to reimburse us for the costs of being in school, because they were being paid by us,
And the
plus the
cost of the
tuition,
school, yep.
plus the tuition.
So, Roy, what I need you to
said
do,
that
what I
to
need you to do
him.
is get a hold of Jason Rosenwasser,
Okay.
because this is a PBA issue. Both officers, when I interviewed them, I asked the question, would you be willing to sign an agreement that states you are gonna guarantee staying with us for 2 years, or pick up that cost?
Yep.
They both agreed to that, but I need to know from a
Right.
PBA perspective and a legal perspective,
Yeah,
You make it
are
happen.
is the union gonna allow them to sign that document?
yep, that's right.
Satisfying?
That's all I have.
Well, I asked for the same thing.
Yep,
We'd have
we
to
talked
claw
about
it
that.
back, you know, so.
All right, so
right.
Doug made the motion, Rick seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
Joe, was that motion to include the cost of their insurance and health insurance and retirement? while they're-
I don't know, do they have health insurance and retirement?
I think that's what we,
I think
Well, I
I'd
was-
start
I would-
day one with that.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
was-
kind of what we take them on as an employee, even though they would be still continuing their education. So the town does employ them. So yes, that was part of the figures and numbers. that
But are
were
we able to get reimbursed for that?
well, that's what I'm saying, if you want to make the motion to use ARPA funds,
To include all
Yes.
expenses associated with both officers while they go through the training process?
yes.
Yeah.
That's the motion.
Yes, that was.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, that was.
Second.
Still second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Clarity? Yeah.
Okay, well, moving on to the potential to, the chief has given us a request based on the, based on utilizing ARPA money for some of the things that he needs. So I'll read you the letter. Everybody has a copy of it. I'll read it for the record. Town Supervisor Joseph Betcher and honorable members of the town board, I respectfully submit a list of equipment that would assist the police department with completing its mission of public safety and traffic control. An electric bike, since we have a large portion of the trail in our town. Upgraded to police use, manufactured by Trek, suggested retail of $4,799. A 12-speed bike, Trek police bike, to supplement the police e-bike, suggested retail $1,799. Patrol rifles, no exact quote received, but we can acquire equipment patrol rifles for approximately $1,800 a piece. He's looking for one in each car, so I don't know how many that is or what we would approve. This is important, and Doug, this weighs into some of the things that we've been hearing from the constituents.
Yeah.
He's looking for an electronic speed sign. Doug had, it's on the agenda to talk about, but Doug had, one of our residents' dog got hit in front of his grandchild or her grandchild on Houston Road. These are the things that would help that.
Yeah, I agree.
He's looking for some active shooter bags. There's ceramic plate, ballistic helmets, and vest for any potential active shooter. It's been big. The county is behind the a lot of the active shooter training that's going on, that we've been the beneficiary for free. He needs some flex barricades for traffic control.
How many?
They're $293 each. We're gonna have to ask him how many.
Yeah. Those are important.
And then the most important thing that they feel they need is this Maverick 3 drone. We had an incident 3 weeks ago. One of the children that live in our town, a young adolescent child on the spectrum that lives in the town, got lost in the woods and was gone overnight. And by the time they found him, he was covered with ticks. If they had had this, because it's infrared, they probably would have found him in like an hour or two. So. And I know George said something about I'm not sure if it was George or you, Phil, something about the state police have that. So I looked into that and I spoke to the state police. They have it, but it's not readily available to everybody on a spur of the moment because it is out with other towns and training and things like that. It's a nominal cost of $3,889. Roughly the entire package I calculated somewhere around $35,000 for everything he's looking for.
Joe.
It's 2 flex barricades, sorry, Joe.
What?
2 flex barricades.
2 flex barricades, okay.
The sheriff's department patrols the town of Goshen trail. I'm on the trail 7 days a week, 4, 5, 6 miles each day. And they kind of come and go, but it's a, you know, if you put an officer out there, that's a, once they go out, I mean, it's a long haul to go out and come back. I don't know if that's something we want to do.
I'm sure our officers can do other things as long as it's being patrolled by the sheriff.
It's been patrolled by the sheriff.
I know it is.
But I don't know what that.
I'm not sure if the chief is looking for patrol access for this bike. I think he's looking for access to get out there in the event that something happens. Because if something happens, you can't open up the gate and drive a car down the road.
Well, yeah, you can.
What?
You certainly can.
Not if people are walking.
Oh, no. They're out there all the time. That's what the gate's for, and it's wide enough for an automobile. I mean, you have to have your lights and all that stuff.
Well, I've had the ambulance. I've had the ambulance on the trail.
I thought this was for Legoland, you know, down the hill.
No.
Okay.
This is for the trail. This is for anything that they would use an electric bike for.
Well, I'm okay with electric bike for an emergency or something, but
he's not looking at patrols per se. He's not saying I need an officer 2 hours a day that's going to patrol the trail. That's not our responsibility. You're correct. It's responsibility of the Orange County Sheriff's Department.
And they do that. And I mean, having the bike.
What's the rifle about? You want to get a rifle?
Right now, we have 2 rifles that we have to move from car to car. So it's the responsibility officer to pack them back out every night because you never know what car to get in the next day. He said if the money's available, he'd like to have those rifles in each car. That's what most police departments do. I did check with the sheriff's department. Every sheriff's car has their own rifle.
Okay, yeah, good.
Everyone needs their own rifle.
So any other questions on this or comments or anything that, you know, I guess, did you get a hold of your cat and say you needed 2?
I think the electric bike, I'm not so sure about the 12-speed, I don't know.
About the what?
The 12-speed bike, I mean, it's not a whole lot of money, but.
Yeah, is it all or nothing?
No, these are each individual items that he's looking for.
Right. So it's not all
No,
nothing.
it's a total package of $35,000.
You get to put the package on the back of the second officer.
It's almost actually, believe it or not, I don't want to say this, but it's almost actually the cost reduction of what William Guide is not costing us to go to phase 1. We're relatively close to that. So.
Well, you made a good case for each of those items, so I have no problem. I'll just go with it. And that's it.
You making that motion?
I make a motion.
Anybody like to second that motion?
I'll second it.
I do have one, the storage of this electric battery thing. It's where all the fires in New York City and all that kind of stuff.
Those are little electric bikes everybody has.
No, but the batteries in there, when they get a short circuit, they can.
Yeah, absolutely, but we have those batteries in every one of our, anything that we have electric right now in the highway department.
And I believe that you can still actually pedal them if something
Yeah.
happens.
Well, I'm just, Okay,
You
fine.
want to know
I mean, I
Bill
don't
made the
know
motion.
what I read in the news, and these people
Rick
bring it
seconded the
up.
motion.
Phil then Rick.
Rick second the motion?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Was that to use ARPA funds for this?
To use
Yes.
ARPA funds, right.
Yes. That's all we were talking about. Should be in the motion. That should be in the motion. Yes. Please note that in the motion, Kat. Because we were talking only about ARPA funds.
Correct.
Funding.
And this is something that Doug has asked for, I agree with it. Discuss and approve lowering the speed limit from 40 miles to 30 miles an hour on Houston Road.
I'm gonna jump in just in the front of this.
Yeah.
It's a discuss and approve.
Predicated on the DOT weighing in.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wait a minute, just a minute.
Yeah.
Discuss
Well,
and
we
approve.
know that. Doug knows that.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait. Okay. The fact is, we have, on town roads, okay, we have it at 35, as I think, we passed it years ago.
It is.
And so you look at all the town roads, they're
Right.
35.
Right.
This one, I think we overlooked, it's 40.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's the deal, it's not just this dog got hit and really hit and thrown out. People go like maniacs in that road, and it's up and it's down and it's curvy at the same time. And we've built 3 major subdivisions, Eva Estates, Woodland Estates, and Eva, and you
Right.
know, cemetery,
Creamery.
Creamery.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this lady, she's the banker I deal with, she was just talking about how frightening it was. Her kids were in the front yard, the dog went out, and then the lady who hit him, it did damage to her car, came back the next day and wanted them to pay for it. And so, anyway, I think 35 might be a good way, but, so it's consistent with the others versus 30.
Yeah, 35 is fine.
Is that the town speed limit?
There's 2 options, I
Go
believe,
ahead.
40 or 35 within the town's.
But we can go as low as
code.
25.
No, I
Well,
don't think so.
the
Yes, we can.
standard of,
Quarry Road went to 25.
yes, but when you put a road in dedicated, it's either 40 or 35 to start.
I'm looking for 35 then. This thing is way too,
You can do 30, the DOT may not approve that big a jump, is one of the things. I was talking to Broderick, apparently there's a trend that's not getting approved all the time, so.
Let's get it reduced down.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm surprised about this DOT being involved in it.
Yeah. DOT has to be, well, we verified it tonight.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
DOT has to be involved in every road in New York State.
I know they are with the state. These other things, I didn't know they were.
Yeah, this site
It's
plan.
based on traffic flow. So they do a traffic flow analysis for the entire state.
They can say that based on the undulations that slowing it down is more dangerous. Like I think Broderick was talking about Pulaski Highway, it's gone back and forth.
But
And
that's a
so,
county road.
no, but just as an example of how it, I
Okay, well,
don't,
I'll buy into it. So anyway, but I think
Thanks.
35, so
Yeah.
it's consistent with all
Let's
of
do
our
it.
others. The
35.
others.
Let's do it. We do it. You don't have to sell it anymore.
it could be
It's
30, Doug, you could
We
say
bought it.
30, I didn't mean
No,
that.
no, I.
We
because-
bought it.
But I think
35.
that, and I've also asked that the police, we have these 40-ton trucks going up. You know,
We
they're
do.
a shortcut from 17M to 17A without going down to the intersection.
That's the other thing I'd like you to, when you reach out to the DOT to ask for this, ask if we could restrict some of these town roads, you know, to non-commercial traffic, tractor.
But
I mean, I see the tractor trailer on Houston Road.
No, but
Tractor
we-
trailer.
I think you have
But we
weight.
have a 10-ton.
Yeah, you have the weight, you already have the weight
Yeah, we
authorization.
I know we
Except for
do.
local
Doesn't
deliveries.
stop them.
Except for
No,
local
that's why we can give them
deliveries,
tickets though.
Then,
We got that.
I know in the village, they'll have they'll have this person that's got the scales or whatever out every.
So we're doing that now.
Yeah.
We have Officer Nigel,
Yeah.
I can't say his last name.
Balcovin.
Okay, you said it.
Yeah.
Officer Nigel,
Yeah, Nigel, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if you can strictly restrict it without, I mean, obviously you can on certain roads or
I spoke
bridges,
to,
but.
I spoke to.
I'll ask him.
I spoke to one of the residents that lives on the corner of Gabriella. And she said it's like a speedway down this
Yeah.
road.
They do
Right?
50.
Like a speedway down
50,
the road.
55.
And it's mostly people cutting through that know the shortcut to
Yes,
get to
that's what it is.
17A from 17M without coming into the village.
So what's the speed limit on Gates Schoolhouse? That's the rest of your shortcut.
35.
35 there. And that has a weight limit on it. That's a 5-ton weight limit on that.
Yeah.
Right, they should be,
I never
that's-
see
yeah.
that, so.
Well, there's
Well, yeah,
another
I
factor,
think-
there's another factor too, and you well know it, Doug. When they get to 17A from Houston,
Right.
guess what happens? There's accidents there all the
Yeah.
All the
time.
time.
And
Yeah.
really serious accidents.
Well, we've had
And I
fatalities.
passed, I
You know,
passed it today,
Yeah.
and the fence is smashed in.
You know what that was?
The stone fence.
There was a gentleman in a Lincoln SUV, a big heavy car. He must have had a seizure or something, or on drugs or something. And he came up, they figure he was doing 70 miles an hour when he came off of Houston and went across 17A and hit that wall and blew those stones 30 feet.
Thank God I didn't T-bone a car.
So,
Oh, yeah.
just real quick, is there a motion?
I'm gonna do it
to-
right now.
Okay, I just didn't want you to leave that
No, no,
subject.
I'm waiting for everybody to stop
I
talking.
looked like he was going on to the next subject, so I
All
hopped
right,
in, my bad.
no, he wasn't, because I was gonna make the motion.
Fair enough.
So, I'd like to make a motion that we approve lowering the speed limit on Houston Road to 35 miles per hour.
All right, I will,
I'll second.
Provided that we get authorization from the DOT.
Well, we can make the
it
motion, we
requires,
don't
yeah,
get
you can,
authorization. we
you
won't do it.
authorize me to petition it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll also get you the answer on,
Right, so-
non-commercial.
Phil made that motion, can I have a second?
Doug seconded.
I'm sorry, who?
Doug.
Doug seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. I think you're good. I think you may very well save lives.
Yeah. Thank you for, all right, finance, discuss and approve a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay accounts payable check run for June 22nd, 2023 in the amount of $196,187.89. Can I have that motion?
So moved.
Second. Second. George, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and approve a manual AP run for January 31st, 2023 in the amount of $231,610.09. Can I have that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and approve a manual AP run for February 28, 2023 totaling $21,986.89.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wait, I'm sorry, who got that second?
Second, me.
George,
Mike.
second. I'll give you them, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Discuss and approve a manual AP run for March 31st, 2023 in the amount of $32,725.84.
So moved.
George,
Second.
second. Rick, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and approve a manual AP run for April 30th totaling $2,234,609.03.
Not me.
So moved. So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Well,
Aye.
since it's so big, we should say, it was the paying off the Salesian,
Yes.
and what was the other big thing?
What was it, Christine?
Was the
Salesian.
Salesian grant?
Salesian, but there was
And
a
the water tank.
Water tank.
And the water
tank's
tank.
great.
You know.
I thought it was funding the fire department.
Oh, we did that already.
Yeah. Next.
Discuss and approve budget officer Christine Cavallari to close the Orange Bank and Trust Company Senior Center CDA checking account and transfer the funds to B General Outside Account.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That wasn't very much, wait, $200 or $300?
500.
$500? Okay, good.
Discuss and approve budget transfers, see attached. Anybody have any questions on them?
Nope.
No.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
George, second.
I'll second.
Rick, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Information only, monthly financial report for December 2022 and April 2023. Attached. Anybody have any questions on that? Can I have, no motions, just information.
Right.
Information, Budget Officer Christine Cavallari performed an accounts payable review for 6/22/2023.
Great job, Christine.
Thank you.
Great job.
Yeah. Okay. At this time, I want to open up privilege of the floor. Anybody from the public would like to speak?
Please. Hello, my name is Jonathan Adamo. I live at the Hambletonian on Meadowbrook. Me and Joe spoke the other day, and I'm just learning about all these new developments. I just had a baby, and I haven't had time to stay up with it. So, Joe, I appreciate your phone call the other day. That was immensely helpful. I'm still looking into the specifics of all this. But, you know, me and all the residents it's just unconscionable how this has gotten to this point, that the water's been allowed to get here. I've only been here for 2 years, so I can only imagine what everyone else has gone through. It's just totally unacceptable. There's absolutely no excuse for it. The other issue that I'm having is I submitted a FOIL request because I wanted to be educated on this matter. And we are now 60 days out on this request. And first I was told that we don't do anything by email, we only do things by phone. And then I was told that we don't have any of these documents, and I was sent 2 years of a balance sheet, which was not even what I requested. I requested all documents pertaining to the water department. And still, today I got a copy of the contract from JCO, no bid, no nothing, no any other supporting documents. And that's not acceptable. These are my documents. They're not your documents, they're not their documents, they're not Mary's documents, they're the people's documents, and I want them. And I'm done asking for them. So.
Well, what have you not gotten? John?
Nothing. I've gotten 2 years of a budget of a balance statement.
Let's take one thing at a time. There's no reason to get agitated. You got the JCO agreement. You want the bid. We told you there was no bid.
How is there no bid? That's what I'm curious about. Because it's over the amount that's required in order to put out a public bid. So there was no public bid put out.
I think because it was a professional service.
Professional services. We don't have to collect the bid.
We don't. Okay. That was a question. I wasn't pointing fingers at anyone. Fair enough. I want the emails. I want every email from every town employee regarding the water department for the last 3 years.
So it's not, and I don't want to simplify this, but we just don't press a button and get it. So somebody has to go through it. The attorney has to look at every email. He has to redact things that that we can't let you see.
Yes. Understood. But I was given an amount of time that it would take. I was given no updates. I still don't have them. But the problem is that I was told that, well, we don't do things by email. We do things by phone.
I don't.
That's just unacceptable.
So who told you that?
Mary,
Okay.
on the phone. That's
All right,
unacceptable.
I'll take it up with Mary.
That's not, I mean, come on.
Okay, so let's get to what you want.
I want this to stop because from my point of view, it looks like someone's trying to sweep something under the rug.
No.
But I get that, but from where I'm standing, I'm trying to get documents and it's run around after excuse after excuse after excuse. So I have no reason to believe that anyone's trying to do the right thing here. I don't have any reason to believe. I'm not saying you're not, and I'm not pointing the fingers and accusing anyone of anything. But from where I stand.
You started out by saying, 2 years ago, I went around telling everybody all the things that I was gonna do to water and sewer, and you thought I did nothing. Okay, and you saw tonight how much we're getting done. Unfortunately, we not private industry.
Well, so that, I said that to you.
What's that?
I made those statements to you. I didn't make those statements to the public.
You made the statements to me.
Yeah, so I didn't direct those in an email. I didn't put that out in the world. I just spoke to you directly, and you showed me that I was incorrect, and I appreciate that.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I have all the answers, and I'm not saying that I'm, Mr. Omniscient, and I could be making myself look like a fool right now. And that's
You're not.
and that's completely okay, and I'm okay with that.
You have every right to be.
My problem is that when the public breaks the rules, that we are held accountable. The town has broken the rules. They've broken FOIL rules. And there's no way for me to hold you accountable besides going out and hiring an attorney and suing you.
What rules have we broken?
You gave me the time that, first of all, the initial FOIL request wasn't responded to within the amount of time that's allocated. Then I was blatantly told that the documents didn't exist when they absolutely do. So that's illegal. Then I was given the amount of time that it was going to take to give them to me. That's been broken by 15 business days. So,
okay.
I mean, at what point from where I'm sitting, how am I supposed to take it seriously?
So let's take you through everything, so to satisfy you, because there are always extenuating circumstances. What your first issue is you didn't get documents.
I want the documents.
What documents do you want?
All of them. Everything that I submitted, all bids, RFIs, emails, contracts.
To what?
Everything regarding the water and sewer district of number 1.
For how long going back?
3 years.
Okay,
I want everything, photos. No, a note, a post-it on a wall. I want it.
Excuse me. Is that a FOIL request?
He did,
yes.
Put a FOIL request
That was a
in.
FOIL request?
Yes.
And you listed the exact documents that you
Yes.
wanted?
And none of them have been
in all documents?
No, not just all. No, I'll read it to you specifically.
So I can speak to some of this. I am the FOIL officer. I
All
work
right.
in there with Mary. We're the one who's been speaking predominantly a lot.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Hi. So unfortunately, when you first sent your FOIL request, it didn't actually get to us. I can't remember the specifics because, like you said, it was a little bit a while ago.
Again, but like if I'm like, oh, well, I didn't get your tax bill, it doesn't matter. Like, it's irrelevant to the
But we
situation.
only get them
Let her
to,
give you the information.
we only get them to that
Go ahead.
specific email address, that FOIL email address. So that's what they all have to be designated to. So then we started working together. You did ask for some financial statements. I did get them, but they had to be more specific, and we did speak on that. And then you asked for emails. It was
It
several.
wasn't, so let me stop you there. It wasn't, and then I asked for anything. Everything was asked for in the original FOIL request.
Okay, I'd have to read it again, but
I'm
also.
trying, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
So my original FOIL request was, number one, all emails, purchase orders, bids, RFIs, contracts, plans, and financial instruments associated with the sewer project on Meadowbrook Lane, which we determined was actually a stormwater project. And I was supposed to amend that, and I didn't. The second one is all emails, purchases, bids, RFIs, contracts, plans, and financial instruments associated with the water district. But financial instruments, that's pretty specific. Anything to do with writing a check or a purchase order or anything. It's not just a balance sheet.
Well, right, and that's why we provided initially just a balance sheet and income statement, so you can say, okay, I need more detail on this line or that line, because to provide the information for every single expense, we'd have boxes and boxes of vouchers, and it's, you know what I mean?
Understood.
We want to give you the information that you need
Yeah.
and that you are looking
Yeah.
for.
That I can get on board with. I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
You know, 6 boxes of
But,
vouchers is not gonna
you know,
be
it's,
helpful.
so, I'll concede that.
So
Agreed.
you know they're gonna charge you by the page.
Not if it's digital, then they have to provide them digitally. You can't force me to print something that just, it's a digital
24 by
format.
36, they're gonna charge them like $6.
No, it's just a PDF, print. Send, email. That's all very simple.
They have to be, each individual one has to be pulled, so there is work involved in pulling each individual page. Now,
I understand that you have, and you can charge me the hourly rate of the cheapest government employee that is qualified to do so. Or you can waive all of the fees because of how important this is to the public. This is an important factor. I mean, the people, I'm telling you, the residents of Hambletonian do not trust you guys. We don't. We do not think that, and now I am going back and I'm going to tell them everything that we
Is
just.
that every resident?
No,
in Hamilton?
obviously not every resident. Every resident that I talk to does not have faith in their government.
And how many residents is that?
I don't know, probably 40 to 50 that I get to talk to.
Every April, we had a review, we sent out notices to all the people.
I know, and I'm not gonna say that they have not been doing their part in doing what they need to do, and I won't sit back and say
Well,
that
but
they
we
haven't
said,
been.
Here's what we're going to be doing.
People are lazy, they want things to get done,
Right,
I don't,
you know,
and I'm not gonna
take it
side with
easy.
them either.
just take it easy on saying they're not doing their part, they're lazy.
Well, no one's doing,
That's-
this is
I
a
get
problem
that.
with society at large. It's,
Well.
you know, everyone wants something for nothing and they want someone else to do it. That's just the way we have been for a very long
I was
time now.
going to share with you, our engineers and the group, we put everything we were going to do
Oh, I know.
during the next 12 months, what the cost was. We put our fund balance at the beginning, all these costs projected, and then rate increases. I mean,
And it might be, and like I said, when I spoke with Joe and he gave me all this information, I'm not going to stand here and criticize anyone for the water situation because I am ill-informed. I need to educate myself more before I make any more opinions. That's definitely a fact. But I can't do that without the documents.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not right. It's unacceptable.
I can assure you we're not hiding them.
And I get that,
We're
and
talking about 3 years of emails, anything relative to water, not pinpointing anything relative to.
the water
fixing
district, to the water district of Hambletonian.
Of Hamiltonian, and it only unfortunately does not say in your FOIL 3 years, it says 11/3/2021.
So, okay, so 11/3, yeah, so the date, I'm just,
I just point of
yeah,
reference.
no, I appreciate it. Thank
We're
you.
gonna prepare every document as quickly as possible. I'm here to work on any questions you have.
But see, right there, that's, I mean, now we're gonna do it as quickly as possible. But why wasn't it, we were doing it as quickly as possible when I first submitted the request?
So you called, sorry to interrupt, you had called about a month ago saying, you know, the documents that we had provided financially weren't sufficient enough.
Yes.
And you had requested the emails.
But now,
Specifically.
but when you
Let her
submitted,
finish explaining, and then you can take your turn. Go ahead,
And
sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Unfortunately, that did take me quite some time to pull, Mary and I both worked on it, to pull all those emails. I got an update yesterday, I should have them for you. I have to scroll back up to an email. I'm hoping to have those emails and everything for you in the next week or so. I am sorry that it has been taking this time, but
There are
just
only two
because-
people in that office.
just because of the extent of the emails. I should have them, I'm hoping, by the end of next week, Jonathan.
I understand, but when we originally spoke, or when you sent that, it was, I'm trying to look, I don't want to misspeak again. That the FOIA was closed, and I got no emails. So had I just not followed through, it would have been acceptable to just not provide me any of those documents when they all exist. You said, and I'm not saying it's intentional, that's not what I'm saying, but the look of impropriety is there. There's an issue that's been going on for a long time. Now, when people start asking questions about it, people start getting the runaround. Naturally, people are gonna think that someone's trying to hide something. And again, I'm not saying you're hiding anything, but from where I'm standing, it looks like you are. So, and the more time goes on and the more excuses that are provided, it makes it look even worse. And I don't want that to be the case. I don't want to look at you guys and think of you in a negative way. But it's very difficult to do so when the rules and the laws that hold the people accountable are not followed when it's the government. That is what's unacceptable. Is I don't get the opportunity to say, oh, well, you know, like we don't have enough people in the office and I don't have enough money in the bank and I can't do this. You guys don't care. The bill gets paid or we come and take your house. That's the way it is. But when you guys do it, is, oh, no, you know what, well, see you next week. We'll get to you when we get to you. And I don't buy that.
It's not a fair comparison.
It's
not a fair comparison.
To be fair, that taking time when you ask for an extensive list of records like that is not illegal.
But you gave me an amount of time that it was taken. I wasn't given an extension. I wasn't given an explanation as to why it was taking so long. That's required by law. I'm required a detailed reason as to why it's going to take so long and how much longer it's going to take. None of which I was provided. First, I was told that the documents didn't exist when they do. So that's an issue.
Well, what documents did
The emails. We don't do anything by email. I mean, we don't know what it is.
Believe me, there's no possible way anybody would have told you we don't do anything by email. That would be ridiculous. Everybody does.
You were 100% correct. It would be absolutely ridiculous, which is why I laughed.
Who'd you talk to?
Mary.
Mary said we do nothing.
We do it all by phone. And I couldn't believe that she said that because every time I've dealt with Mary, it's always been great. And I couldn't believe that that was iterated to me.
All right, well, anyway, so you're agitated. I understand that you're agitated. I sympathize with what you're going through. And we are working diligently to get the water and sewer fixed in Hamiltonian Park. You got an assessment of it tonight?
Yes, I did.
I
I
will make sure that I stay on top of you getting every document that you want.
Thank you very much, Joe. I
As
really
quickly as
appreciate it.
possible.
Thank you.
Is that fair?
That is fair.
You have my number. You can
That's
call
all
me.
I ask.
You can call me on a weekly basis. I'll take your call.
Oh, awesome.
All right,
Gentlemen, ladies, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Have a great night. Be well.
Thank you. Anybody else want me? Yes, sir.
That was me 20 years ago.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. Most of the board knows me. I'm Chris Piskowski, my wife Beth.
Sure.
2707. Sounds like an address you guys all know. La Colina.
Yes.
Wedding place. That I overturned all your planning board approvals in the Orange County Supreme Court. Got taken to an appeals court after that, and they stuck. La Colina should not exist. They lost any approvals by the planning board, which was a one-use permit for a B&B, and they were looking to, I'm sorry.
Me?
Yes.
What do you want?
You're not the planning board. Rick Tolden was the planning board attorney. I just want to request a meeting with my attorney your attorney, and anyone who's gonna be out there in the field handling what I'm about to tell you. I don't wanna give you all the details, but I spent a rainy day with one of those file boxes. That's all I got for my tens of thousands of dollars fighting you guys. And I read through the whole thing. And Neil Halloran, when he was building inspector, gave them a building permit for the 4 cabanas to be renovated. And right here on the building permit, it says existing building in use. And he gave them a reno permit. When the whole construction plan was put forth in front of the planning board, it said both their septic fields were gonna be upgraded, and they didn't even know about one, which connected to the 4 cabanas, which were gonna be used for the B&B. The 4 cabanas were not in use for 38 years, I believe. In 1938, that house was built. The Menners bought it in the 50s, I believe, and Pete Menner is one of the sons that grew up there, and he said those things were never used ever. They were abandoned. So the septic system was abandoned for over 40 years. Neil goes and gives a renovation permit, says all fixtures are in place, and they can just do sheetrock and put some new bathroom fixtures in, and they start using it. So after I beat everybody, September 2020, the new couple buys the place. I go over and introduce myself. I said, and they knew all about me. They find it in the Times Herald Record articles. And I said, what's your plans here, guys? And they're like, we're just gonna enjoy it like you. I said, great, nice to have you as a neighbor. Well, then I find out they started the B&B. So they're using the 4 rooms. And I said, look, you gotta, number one, become a conforming residential lot. You have 50 feet of road frontage, you need 200. Then, once you become a conforming lot, a residential lot, then you can go for your special use permit. Oh, I got that, he says. I said, well then produce it. Like a couple of weeks later, he goes, oh, that was some tax ID card my wife got. So right now they're operating for almost 2 seasons, or more than 2 seasons, as a B&B. End of last summer, so I have other fights I'm dealing with, bigger ones, and it's on my list to take care of. I just said, you know what? They're gonna get their use permit if they go through all the fiery hoops and have the public hearing and all that, and I don't really care. Just your 4-bedroom B&B. Well, last year, end of season, they bring in the Airstreams, the big chrome Airstream RV. So I texted them, I said, hey, before you do anything with that, you better check town codes. Town code for any RV use on a property can only be granted for a 6-month period during the construction of your home. It can have an extension of 6 months, and that's it. 12 months, you're out of there. They can't use an RV, period. It's an existing house, it's not under construction. They ran permanent electric to it. I believe, quote me, it's a guess that they're doing an Airbnb there. A few weeks later, they start clearing a shelf in the woods. So I'm thinking they're gonna set the RV, and I'm like, why'd they put electric in there? Well, that thing they set in the woods there is now a campground. So on the weekends, I have 4 B&Bs, an RV, and a campground. And they don't have one approval for anything. I need to sit down with the people that are gonna enforce this, because I called the Board of Health, because when I was turkey hunting last fall, you could smell septic, and I'm like, bingo, and that's when the light went on. They never upgraded any systems over there. So the Board of Health, I had a meeting with supervisor on May 1st. The Board of Health went out there with the building inspector on May 5th, which was that Friday. They finally got me a letter and said they found nothing. They found nothing because the B&B only runs from June 1st to November, and they went out in May, so the thing was sitting all winter. The thing is, they shouldn't be operating, period. They shouldn't be operating or using the septic, and now I got a silver RV you can see from Maple Ave when the leaves are off the trees, when the sun's hitting it. And I need somebody to sit down, go through this, and answer why Neil Halloran even gave them a rental permit on something that was still in front of the planning board. And right here on the permit, it says, by their engineers, it says existing building being used. They advertise on their website that they used to be sheep bins. On their tax bill, it says machine shed, 13 by 72 long, or exact dimensions, 14 by 80 long. It's not a sheep shed, it was on their tax bill, and it still is as a machine shed. And when Mr. Menner was alive, he always made the joke, because I found this out from another neighbor, that when the tax assessor showed up 30 years ago, they said, "What's that?" And he goes, "It's a machine shed." And the doors, I had photos of the original listing. The doors were hanging off in the original listing in 2017. Pete Menner said he'll give me a letter if he needs it, or I can get him here in a meeting to swear to you people that for 40 years when he grew up there, they were never used. It was abandoned. But again, they're doing a use that is not allowed. And I've got a million other things on my plate. I just need to sit down, give all the information, which I tried to give to your new building inspector, but he wouldn't even get up to see me. He said, email it. So that's why I was laughing at that guy. But I can't email 24 by 36 site plans and things like that.
So, if I can just interject, that for when Frank took over, he wanted everything electronic, so that's why he asked for everything electronically versus paper. But if you don't have that, we'll take the paper, we'll get it.
No, I don't want to hand anybody any paper unless it's the guy that knows what he's looking at, and it's the guy that's going out in the field, because I spent a lot of time photocopying things, reading things. 15 hours I sat at my kitchen table.
So I would assume that you're saying it's an Airbnb, it's not a use that's allowable in the town. We would agree with you. We're looking at it.
What happened that Friday? I never got an answer from you. Your assistant called me. It was something about the Yiddish farm that I was talking to you about. Got a little confusing in the conversation, didn't think they had the right message for me, and nobody got back to me.
I was returning the wrong call.
Bingo, and you never called me
I had
back.
confused. I had confused the residents, and I had returned the wrong call.
But at the end of the conversation, our big game plan was you were gonna dig up the real information and get a hold of me, correct?
I had just the wrong message that I was returning.
Oh,
What were you expecting me to return?
What happened?
What's that?
What did you find out? Because the RV should not be being lived in.
Correct, and it's all part of the Airbnb.
And they shouldn't be allowed, they don't have a use permit for the 4 B&Bs. And
you asked me to look into the fact that they were renting them out as Airbnbs. We're going through a process right now, trying to figure out what we're gonna do with Airbnbs. We just can't throw people out. We don't have that ability.
Ooh. I know tons about town codes and village codes. They do not have a use permit. They should be shut down tomorrow, period. Then let them become a conforming lot and then get their use permit.
Pre-existing, non-conforming.
They are not pre-existing.
The land wasn't there?
The B&B wasn't. The B&B never had an approval.
The B&B is illegal, regardless. They can't come to
shut them down.
They
Because
can't.
here's the thing, what happened last time. This board felt bad for the bride and grooms that were already booked for La Colina.
I wasn't here, so I wasn't this board.
Sorry. They allowed them to move ahead with the next 2 that were booked. Well, that guy just went and booked out for the rest of the season and kept going.
La Colina's not with us anymore, they're gone.
Okay, well, this guy is operating illegally. He needs, they're making $10,000 a month. Okay, it's $395 per night, a 2-night minimum, and there's 4 rooms. That's over $10,000 a month. They're not even paying taxes. They have 5 bedrooms, 3 baths. They're really 9 bedrooms and 8 baths. They're not even on the tax rolls correctly. So could the town please just fix the tax roll? I went to the tax assessor. He sends me across to the building inspector. We gotta have a complaint from him. They send me back to this guy. I'm bouncing back and forth upstairs in that hallway for over an hour, and then I finally leave. But they're operating illegally, they should, what happened with La Colina went way too far because the board allowed them, we'll feel bad for the bride and groom, weren't even Goshen taxpayers, to keep going with weddings. And that guy cost me a lot of my time and a lot of my money. So I am here to make sure this guy, I don't have to, what do I gotta do? Grab my lawyer again and start coming in? They need to be shut down. What, in the inspection, the building inspector drove up there with the Board of Health, and he was supposed to look at the RV. I'm still looking at the RV, and I'm still looking at people that live in there. The building inspector can go out, and a summons can be served within 48 hours, 72 hours.
And what does that get you? It gets you a fine, that's it. Doesn't get them evicted.
They're not living there permanently. They shouldn't be allowed to.
So we have code that what we do is we assess a fine, okay? They have 30 days to cure that. It gets cured as soon as those people leave. That's the ongoing dilemma we're in right now with Airbnbs. So we are looking at what we can do to fix this problem. We don't want Airbnbs in this town as much as you don't want them. But there's a law that we have to follow. You want to weigh in on this, Rory, on what we're doing?
I mean, I think you've assessed the flaw in the code currently, and along with our code violation prosecutor, who's another attorney.
What could we do about the renovation permit that was handed to them that shouldn't have been? Because I have another neighbor right over the other hillside. I had another abandoned house, and Neil Halloran handed them a permit, and now they have a rental.
Well, what would you like me to do if he issued a building permit and then the building permit was closed?
The problem is, the building permit it was illegal to be granted in the first place.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Well, right here,
True or
I
not,
can
but-
see engineers lied right on the application.
I'm sorry, who did?
The engineers, whoever filled out this building permit and signed it, lied. It says existing building in use. That building was never in use. Says it right here in the drawings. All existing, only upgrading plumbing and fixtures and electric to code. And you'll just, whoop.
Okay, so he was following what the engineer offered in the application, correct?
Neil was up there 150 times. He knew those doors were hanging off the hinges. He knew they weren't used.
So how can we remedy this?
So now I got,
Rory?
Well, there's a couple different issues in play here.
Right, I can see
They're
that, so
separate.
let's-
So the
right.
Airbnb situation is in the process right now. I'm happy to explain if you want to your attorney. We've had it ad nauseum here. The idea is to have it in front of this board in the near future once we've determined the legality of how quickly we can operate. I mean, as you can imagine, if you have a notice to cure, and it's not like a structure that you can fix, right? That you give the notice to cure and then the people are gone, right? And rinse and repeat. So we're trying to find mechanisms in order to ensure that people who are operating illegally are not just subject to a fine, but there's another remedy, whether it be incarceration is even something that has been talked about for a certain amount of violations.
well, you can go on these people's website and go and see every single weekend they are booked.
No doubt. Notice is not an issue. I think we realize this is ongoing. The cure is the issue and the legality of the cure, okay? So we're working on that. We're working on potential other remedies to it. The RV is a totally separate issue apart, and I can't speak to what went on. I'm certainly not suggesting your representation is not truthful. I haven't spoken to the building inspector about whether they're going to be violated on that.
I don't know, I'll say it on the record, whatever. I don't know what they're using it for, because they had a trencher and they ran permanent electricity. I thought they went and cleared the woods because they're gonna back this RV in the woods there and then start renting that. Now they had guys behind a chain trencher. They trenched an electric line from the garages or the barns to the So that's permanent. I gotta come up my driveway, go to turn, and I see this big silver bullet in the woods. And now, over the Memorial Day weekend, there was a guy camping in the woods.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then they
it's-
say they don't do gatherings and they don't do parties, but there's sure a lot of cars
It
parking
gets,
along the
it
driveway.
gets tricky. I mean, the advertising part of the Airbnb is pretty straightforward. If you're advertising it, and it's not even that it's not allowed here, it's just not addressed in the code yet. And rather than reacting, we want to react quickly, and I know it's not quick enough for you, but we want to get it right. And I know, yes, go ahead, man.
You keep saying Airbnb, they're not operating their Four Cabanas as an Airbnb, they're operating it as a B&B, a traditional B&B.
Right, all right.
So isn't there already codes for B&Bs?
Yes,
There's
permit
codes.
process, you know, special use process or permit process, that's still be.
So they actually live there?
They live in the main house.
Okay.
And then, just where the garages are out of the ground, there's this little wing that touches the house.
They advertise, how do you, forgive me for.
It's La Colina, just Google it.
It's just operating the same name as the
Yeah,
prior.
she took everything,
Okay.
and they said they weren't gonna do a thing. And
I was gonna ask you to email me that, but I don't. There's an advertisement under La Colina.
Yeah, you-
Just Google it, literally.
Can you find out if they
2707,
issued
yeah,
a-
about 17.
Okay.
You gotta, it took me 18 months, and it was like a part-time job
Yeah.
fighting that. And,
Who's your counsel? Who's your attorney?
David Gordon, Poughkeepsie. But I didn't want to bring him because I don't want to, it's just, I got another, other issues.
Sure.
And I just put so much time and
Well,
effort into this.
Can we have a conversation where I can maybe collect some of that information and be able to then?
I'd love to sit down with you and show you
I'll
my
give you
whole
that
file,
time.
and I will show you every little thing in the wording.
I will be
in some
happy
of
to
their
sit down with
findings.
you along with, well, I'll sit down with you and gather it and then disseminate to the proper people, because it may not all filter through me, so, but.
But I'm wondering, how do you, they went and they had an illegal renovation permit here.
Well, I would like to take a look at it. I'm not gonna do it on the fly here. I'll give you the time.
No, I got it. I'll bring copies.
Yeah, so, well, before we leave, I'll give you my information.
I'll give you my number.
Okay.
I'm sorry, for the record, can I just have your names again?
Chris and Beth Piskowski. It's P-S-K-O-W-S-K-I.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
I'll gather it and then report back.
I asked,
a little bit.
I asked Cap to look up whether they ever filed for a B&B permit.
Sure.
I just emailed it to Frank.
Okay.
They would need it isn't a use in that district, but the house is pre-existing, non-conforming from 1936 with only 50 feet of road frontage, and that was one of the big issues
Yeah.
when we were doing the La Colina.
Yeah.
And they need to correctly go to the ZBA, become a conforming lot, correct, before they have a public
That
hearing.
would, based on what you're saying to me, I wasn't the town attorney at the time La Colina was going on.
Yeah.
I'm familiar in general. All right, I'll show you an email. Yeah, you got it.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna give you the email, so I can find it.
We thought we were done with La Colina. We really
I
did.
just,
I know you did. I know it.
I'm
I
like,
know
oh,
it. I know it. I know it.
well, sorry, but we're both from New Jersey 30 years ago, Bergen County, and their attitude was like, up here we need what? I'm like,
Well, they were from New Jersey too, weren't they?
Ramsey.
I told you. That's right. Okay.
All right.
Listen, I've been here since I'm 20 years old. I'm in New York,
Okay.
all my kids are there. But I hope I didn't sound like that last guy.
Almost, not quite.
But I just gave Broderick something else, because I went into, I'm gonna turn there on Gierzak. The road is decaying because that guy had all those illegal loads of dirt on Gate Schoolhouse.
Yeah.
And I fought with NICEAG after they damaged all that grass there, and finally had them come back and send their landscapers from Utica, New York to fix all that grass they messed up, and that they were denying they messed it up. But I had 3 meetings, 20 phone calls, but I got it done. So now I'm nagging him to fix what I had fixed. It's just, but But there's always a fight going.
All right.
Thank you for your
Anything
time.
else?
Okay.
Anything else, sir?
What, I mean, what can I, well, he's gonna be getting.
You're gonna take care of it with Rory.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?